Welcome back to Derailed. I'm your host, as always, JJ Lahey. I almost said Jake Schyvinck. I don't know why. It's because the next thing I usually say is, here's my co-host, Jake Schyvinck. Yeah, I'm JJ Lahey. Look at how much of the beard I chopped off. It's a lot of beard gone. It's good, like 6 inches gone.
It's tight. It's for summer, right?
Yeah. Actually, it's not really for summer. It's actually because my son is 5 months old now, and he's crazy grabby with his little fingers, and he keeps yanking my beard, and I couldn't do it anymore. So hopefully I don't have to keep taking it shorter than this. But yeah, look, we got Tyler Dershel in the chat. We got Too Old for This. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it, Jake. We're going to be talking about how the Packers stack up against the rest of the NFC North. I think it's going to be fun to go through position group by position group. And, you see every year about this time, you see different bloggers and journalists writing articles, comparing, hey, who has the best wide receiver room, best running back room, yada, yada. And you see the graphics where, hey, we're going to say which team in the division takes the crown for each of these position groups. That's not what we're doing. We got our own twist, and that is, how does each of our position groups fit into the big picture of the NFC North? And we dipped our toe in the water a little bit a week ago when we were talking about our wide receivers matched up against the rest of the NFC North's questionable defensive back rooms. So that's what we're going to do. We're gonna catch up on a couple of these comments first. You guys can admire my fancy new webcam. Watch this, okay? If I move over here. Oh, it follows me. Oh, I'm so cool. I'm gonna move over here. Oh, it keeps me in frame. That's great because I love to move around. Any of you who have met up with me in person know that I kind of can't sit still. So this is great. I can move all around and still stay centered. So Tool for this says Frank Ragnow no longer fits in the picture of the NFC North. The Lions really went from rags to riches and back to rags now. Oh my gosh, that's brilliant. Well done. Slow clap. Wow. Too old for this. Brilliant, man. So he says this picture, put it up on screen. Why is it not on screen? There it is. This picture looks like Jake drew the short straw in one of Jigsaw's games. Dershel says he looks like if Kevin O'Connell and Sheldon from Big Bang Theory had a kid. I was looking. I was looking, so I was talking last week about how I have this at Packers Alerts Twitter account that you can go and keep up to date with all the Packers news, right? So that was like my old Packers account back in the day. So I was just looking at it and like, hey, I wonder how many of my takes held up. And I deleted everything. But I did see that back when Kevin O'Connell first left Washington, that I highlighted that and said, I think he's going to basically be a stud no matter where he goes. Of course, his next stop was with the Rams. But I had my eye on him, so this would have been 2019, maybe early 2020. Anyways, one of my few hits. So, Tool for this says Bazinga. Welcome back to Primetime, Tyler. Yeah, Tyler, we have missed you. It's just felt weird and disjointed that we don't have Tyler and Tool for this on every single stream, hitting it up. We got webcam sponsored by Redacted Drink. Oh, yeah. Thanks for reminding me.
There it is.
I only got 3 hours of sleep last night, so this is very needed. Well, that's a good flavor. It's the pure citrus.
There you go.
All right. And was the Packers Alert account sharing thing? I don't understand the question. Go to on X, it's at Packers Alerts, and you keep up with all the Packers news right there. Yeah, Tyler Dershall. I feel you, man, with the wedding planning. Now, I didn't have to do much wedding planning because my
I
wife
don't feel you, Tyler.
is the ultimate planner, and she like had it all covered. This is the Irish exit is time tested tradition. All right,
Time.
we're gonna try and rail this, right? We're gonna rail
What?
it. Later,
No.
derail it. Yeah, we're gonna get this
No.
conversation on on track.
That's better.
And
Leave that comment to Brian and those in the chat who do that.
But Brian's not here yet, man. And I'm feeling
sure
the absence.
He'll make that joke. He'll make that joke eventually.
Freaking Brian. I added him twice. Added him twice on X, and he still isn't in here. Freaking Brian. Okay. So Jake, I'm gonna let you talk about Ragnar for a sec because I do think this is obviously massive. I think over the last 3 years, you probably would have to rank Ragnar as the number one center in the NFL over that, average of 3 years. Creed definitely had a better 2024 than Frank did, like pretty undebatably in my opinion, due to the injuries and age we're certainly starting to catch up with Frank. And although he was still just a dominant monster in run blocking, the pass pro, I could see that the lack of agility was starting to get to Frank. This is obviously a monumental blow to the best offensive line in the NFC North. And, it's going to be interesting seeing what the Lions are able to put together this year with 2 new coordinators and, kind of a new look offensive line. So give me your reaction to Ragnar going and kind of where you see them putting this together in Detroit for the offensive line.
Well, there are a lot of questions now because, again, the 3 most important spots, left tackle, center, right tackle. Luckily for Detroit, the 2 bookends of tackle, they're sticking around. But Ragnar retiring and Zeitler leaving as well create this massive gap in the interior offensive line. Yes, Graham Glasgow has played multiple spots for them. That's fine. But again, right now it's him, Christian Mahogany, who played a little bit last year, as a 6th round pick out of Boston College. And you have now Tate Ratledge coming in and Miles Frazier coming in. Frazier really hasn't played too much center. He got more right tackle and then both guard spots in Mobile. That's probably where he's going to fit. And so they've been reportedly cross-training Ratledge to play center. Not that he, said he has done it. I don't think he did it at Georgia. Maybe that was a high school thing where he did that. So, yeah, a lot of moving parts along that interior offensive line. If they lose Graham Glasgow for any time, oh boy, we got a lot of inexperience out there on the interior. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal. So I for the rest of the division who are looking to get, the Bears are looking to get more out of Zach Pickens and, oh boy, the guy from Florida who's escaping my mind, who's, a young player potentially ascending. Oh, Javon Dexter, got it. There we go.
Yeah, yep.
And they brought in Grady Jarrett. So they're hoping that they can get more out of that unit this year and potentially, be able to take advantage of this. And obviously Green Bay's in that same boat of Devontae Wyatt. Hopefully he stays healthy all year, right? You're looking at maybe we'll see Kenny Clark bounce back. I saw that thing about the bone spurs and all that in the foot.
Oh, I missed that one. Dang.
Yeah, there was a little bit of that talk today.
Guess I should have been following my own Packers Alerts account.
The division as a whole might be is in position at the very least, with some players taking jumps to take advantage of this Lions inexperience along the interior of the offensive line now. I mean, it's going to be very different. Jared Goff, it's a new center, right? Is he ready to set all the protections? If it's Glasgow, great. If it's Ratledge, oh boy, really quick. At least it happened before training camp, right? We're not getting the kind of late July, early August retirement, so at least there's some ramp up process. But boy, I think it's going to, the season's going to happen upon them pretty quickly, just in terms of like that urgency for them. So yeah, a lot of changes for this Detroit team, and it's going to be fascinating to see, how they come out of the gate, how they respond to challenges in the season, and I think it all stems from, yes, it goes coordinator to coordinator, and there will be changes, and there, maybe some hiccups along the way, but losing your center, who has, when healthy, been excellent, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. It changes a lot because of how brutish and dominant they were up front to give, Montgomery 20-25 carries, get, Jahmyr Gibbs in the mix. Like they're still going to do that. They're going to run the ball. How effective will they be though? Will they be able to create all the favorable under center play action looks that they've had over, the last couple seasons? I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and Tyler's asking if I believe that Kenny was held back by a bunion or bone spurs. So I did a quick search, and I see Kenny Clark talking about, this is 4 hours ago. He said he injured his foot in the opener against the Eagles and played through it all year. Was asked how much did the injury affect him last fall, and he said a lot. Elaborated, I wouldn't even say it's the speed, it's every step. Every step you take, your toe is busted. I mean, I feel for him. That would suck for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, would love to see some rebound from that. The big problem I have is that I didn't feel like last year was an anomaly for him. I felt like last year was just a continuation of the trend that we've seen for the last few years. I didn't want him back prior to the 2024 season beginning because I thought he played poorly in 2023 despite, he got 6 sacks or 4.5 sacks or whatever he got. Like, okay, great. So fewer than 10 plays out of the entire season is what we're going to judge the season on. Like, I'm sorry. That's not that impressive to me. And I sit there and I watch him play. And I see the plays that he takes off, and it's a lot. And I get frustrated when I see him either just wildly getting out of his lane. And hey, sure, I'm not the defensive coordinator. I don't know what he was supposed to do on that play. Maybe he was supposed to stunt outside or something. But, when I notice him screaming around to the left side, chasing after a QB who doesn't have the ball in his hands, and meanwhile, the running back squirts right through the hole that he just vacated, I feel pretty frustrated at him. And then, when I said he takes plays off, that's not what I'm talking about. Like that's just a whole separate matter. There are a lot of plays where, you see Devontae Wyatt or Carl Brooks or who's the young guy who got playing time like way down the stretch at the end of the year last year. Hold on, I got my spreadsheet right here. The guy I'm thinking of is not coming to mind. I don't know who I'm thinking of because we don't have any defensive tackles. But anyways, you see guys, and Rashan is out there, and they're still fighting through the snap. QB still has the ball in his hands, and Kenny Clark literally has his hands on his hips. Like, I'm sorry, that ticks me off. I don't have to know what the play call was. I guarantee you, at no point did the DC. Yeah, I knew somebody was going to get on me for saying that. Too old for this. I guarantee you, at no point in the play design, is there a little note that says Kenny stands here with his hands on his hips? Like, they don't have a code word for that. Maybe they should. Maybe they should have a code word for it so that they can identify it and make it quit happening. So do I think that the bunion or the bone spur or the turf toe, whatever it was, held him back last year? Sure, I guess. Like, I'm not calling him a liar. I would like to know if that's his justification for standing there with his hands on his hips. Like, does that make the toe feel better? I don't know.
Probably any level of balance.
I'm too hard on Kenny, I'm sure, but the chat's asking me about it. So, look, I'm going to give the people what they want.
Yeah, no notes. No notes. It wasn't. Two Old Fist says it wasn't COVID toe.
If you want, I can do Matt Orzek too. You want some Matt Orzek rant?
No.
You want Jayden Reed? Jayden Reed is another one of my whipping boys. See, the thing with Jayden Reed is that he's in a totally different tier. All right, you got Kenny and Matt Orzek, who I genuinely want off the team, and then Jayden Reed frustrates me because I know how good he is, and I want him to just be consistent and play better. Like, it's totally different. Like, I am still team Jayden Reed. Like, I wanted him benched at times to like motivate him to play better. When I want Kenny cut or Matt Orzek imprisoned, it's because of that I think that they're a detriment to the Packers. When I rant about Jayden Reed, it's because I know he easily could be wide receiver 1 on the Packers, and he certainly was for a big chunk of the year last year. Hey, Jeff, Go Pack Go from San Diego, gents. Howdy, welcome. Glad to have you. So the Jayden Reed rants, those are more out of love. Frustrated Love. Ooh, Frustrated Love. That'd be a good album name.
I gotta see if.
Where were we? Who derailed me?
I don't have anything on this. Wow, someone's going to.
What are you looking up?
Frustrated Love is an album title. I don't see one.
I'll tell you what I don't want to see. I don't want to see Frustrated Love this year. I don't want to see Jordan Love frustrated. On Sunday, I was watching the calendar year 2016, but it was the 2015 season playoffs, and this is the Packers Cardinals Jeff Janis game. I was watching this on Sunday with my mom, and I was struck by, as I'm watching Aaron, and like, okay, this was like pinnacle Aaron Rodgers doesn't have enough help. Like, that narrative, I think, was completely born from that game where he doesn't have any of his wide receivers. Okay, Randall Cobb is out, Devontae's out, Jordy's out. They're all out. And all he's got is James Jones, who goes like 0 for 6 in that game. Jared Abbrederis and Jeff Janis. And those are the only people he has to throw to. And Richard Rodgers. And then, like, the defense can't stop a runny nose. Okay. And I'm watching Aaron, and like, he's so frustrated, and he's like shaking his head after every incompletion. And I'm sitting there, and I was like, okay, this is zero animosity toward Aaron. Like, I love Aaron, and I don't have any hard feelings toward him at all. But I really appreciate that we don't get that from Jordan. That, like, if there's a bad play, he's just like there. He's like clapping, like, all right, come on, guys. Like, pick it up. Like, let's keep going. I think, and it's probably largely just born from like how long Aaron was here. Like, you kind of really appreciate just the fresh change of pace.
Sure. Yeah.
It's a freaking long time to have the same quarterback, and it was great. But like, watching Aaron in that game, and like, man, he was doing freaking magic. Like, I'm watching him, I'm just like, this is why people were so terrified of Aaron Rodgers. Was just bull crap, like that throw he just made. Like, impossible. He should have been sacked twice. That should not have been a completion. How did he even see the guy he threw it to? Like, there's a D tackle right in his face, and he's not even looking down the field. He just whips it, and it just bucket, touchdown. And it was so much fun watching him. But then I would just like see the like frustration after every bad play, and I was like, okay. Again, it just makes me appreciate Jordan, and that his leadership style also works. Like there's more than one way to skin a cat, and I can be ready for a new chapter and still appreciate Aaron, but really appreciate that we have Jordan. How do we feel about the wide receiver the Pack drafted in the 3rd round this last draft? Yes, we talked about Savion a bunch. And I think that where we have landed is that there's kind of 3 main views out there on Savion. I think the most commonly held view is, hey, this dude is a freak. You can use him every which way. You got to be really creative, get the ball in his hands a bunch of different ways, have him, coming out of the backfield. Let's let him carry the ball. Let's let him play tight end. Let's get super creative and do all these crazy things. And that is where our offensive coordinator is. That's what Steno, that's how he talks about him. And I think this is the most commonly held viewpoint on Savion Williams. The second most common viewpoint about Savion, and I would guess this is closer to where you are, Jake, but maybe I'm off on this, is that he was like a wasted pick. Like he just can't play football. I think that is probably the second most common take on Savion after like, hey, he's the next Cordero Patterson. We're going to, just be doing freaky stuff with him. And then the third take is where I'm at. And I think this is not a very common one, and it's probably incorrect, but it's still where I'm at. Like I can't really budge off this, which is like, I'm just not that interested in being crazy and goofy with him and having him play a bunch of different roles. I just want to teach him to play wide receiver consistently. We have seen, like, Goody has drafted some guys over the past couple of years at different positions where you look at him and you're like, hey, athletic freak, not really sure if he can play football. I'm not really sure what he can do. And Savion, I don't think that's an accurate description of him because we have seen him do literally everything well, just never at the same time. He does like one thing crazy well at one time. So I'm excited about the fact that it's all there in him. I don't have any doubts about his ability to be a good route runner or to make contested catches or to create separation or to run block. But we haven't seen that all together. Okay, so what? He's raw. That's like the definition of raw and undeveloped. So, I just don't get very excited hearing Stenovich talk about like, hey, here's all the goofy, wacky packages I have cooked up for him. I'm like, can we just teach him how to play wide receiver really well? Because I think that he could be our X or, find some useful role in our offense with some consistency. Because the way to not get playing time in Matt LaFleur's offense is to be inconsistent. If you can do a bunch of cool, crazy stuff, okay, that's cool. But if you're dropping easy passes, if you're running into guys, if you are not understanding the responsibilities and what the play caller is expecting of you on that play, that's how you get Amari Rodgers. All right. And that's what I don't want to see happen with Savion. I think that there's some huge differences between Amari and Savion in terms of like the quality of prospect that they are, but their potential to not pan out is similar. And I think would have to take a similar path to get to that point. All right. I cede the mic to you, Jake. Sorry for ranting.
Man, I've like completely like moved on from all of the picks. I feel like at this point, and I'm trying to like do other things this summer at the moment. But yeah, a couple things that stood out to me with Savion is one, the fact that Steno is saying all of this, like with the creative usage, like doesn't surprise me because Doubs, Wicks, Golden, and Reed are on this team. Like, I'm sorry, like he's like probably fifth on the list of like, hey, I want you to run this dig route. Like, That's just how it is at the moment for me. And I think for them as well. I think with Savion, the rare kind of throttle control, the deceleration ability, the hip sync for such a bigger guy is very impressive. He can make some out of body plays at the catch point, which is really exciting. And yeah, he's not super stiff. And I think that was, to me, for me at least, the biggest criticism I had of Watson when he was drafted was, man, no, this is a lot stiffer of a player. Like there's a reason he's going to get a lot of like crossers and go routes and, touches in the backfield, because he just isn't this super, controlled player when changing direction. And Savion has that. And I think it does give you the opportunity of like, hey, he can be like pseudo RB2, or like, he could be the adjuster a little bit in the formation of, having him block, but also like you have to keep tabs on him, if he's going to help as a blocker, but at the same time, like if we're under center, who knows what's going to happen? Is there some maybe Ben Skoranek there as well of like, yeah, we'll put him in the backfield because we know he can block and he can release into the flats and he can, we can take advantage of that and play action. Like, absolutely. And then you watch the double catching, and then you watch the kind of inconsistent route depth based on what's being called. And then you see some inconsistencies with the route spacing and all of that. So I think he can, again, I think that, I don't know if TCU giving him the rock in a lot of those scenarios of, yeah, you're just going to get the direct snaps and all of that, maybe hindered, his attention to detail, at playing true receiver. Maybe he just didn't get as many reps in practices and doing that. So he didn't get that, brought along. But I do think, hey, we're in the NFL now. Like, if we're going to be asking you to take some of these gadget touches and kind of be a versatile weapon while also developing as a receiver, I think you have to kind of embrace all of that. And so I hope he does. It's going to be fun to watch him in preseason, I think, over everyone else. Golden's just the questions are the questions with Golden. Like, it's very cut and dry, should be instant impact. Probably isn't going to be the world beater that maybe everybody thinks he's going to be, at least in my opinion. But I think he's going to be very, very quality. I think.
Hold on.
Are
you specifically talking about 25 or just in general?
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think Golden's going to become, Puka or Brown or Jefferson or any of these guys that are like just insane at the top of every receiver list where they should be. I think Golden can easily settle himself into the Smitty tier, perhaps. And again, I think that tier may vary to those based on their opinion of Devontae Smith. Mine is very high, probably relative to the rest, but I do think like you.
I love Devontae Smith.
I think he can settle into that tier. I just don't think, and I think people are pointing this out. Well, not to get derailed again, but like that might be where Marv sits. Like, Marv may not end up being that dude, but he might be like a dude where you're like, yeah, no, he's a one. That's fine. It's not. He's just not like the like out of this world player. So like Golden can reach that. I just don't. I'm hoping that Green Bay fans don't see receiver first round and think, well, we've got CD Lamb on our team, or something like that, because I don't want to, push the expectations, to the moon or anything like that. But again, him and Ibuka are going to be two guys that stick around for a long time and are going to provide tons of impact. Are they ever going to be upper echelon elite? Probably not, but I still think they are quality players. And so, for Savion to kind of pull this thing back to where I was, it's like there's so much excitement there of like play to play. You want to see consistency, whether it be the hands, whether it be the routes, all of that stuff. So like Golden's going to be a consistent player. Like, is he able to kind of use the speed a little bit more, right? Is that speed real? Can he unlock it, right? Was the nagging like foot injury kind of around the ankle, like was that a problem and he didn't get to show that unlocked speed? Maybe so. With Savion, it's just more of like, as you said, you call him raw because all the physical stuff is there. Is all the mental stuff going to work its way into his game at the NFL level? I think is like the biggest thing for me. It's just, it's consistency. It's the mental stuff, like all of that stuff that the elite of elite receivers have stacked day after day, month after month, year after year. Can he ever reach that? Because, I mean, you're still looking at, is this who Green Bay envisions to be a Watson replacement? Maybe. It's not out of the realm of possibility where these guys settle into their roles. Mm-hmm. So, again, in the third round, are you swinging for the fence? I have no problem with that. I think it's the perfect spot to do it based on a lot of what was there. I think there were certain prospects everybody probably liked more than who was available. Or who was available than Savion, who ended up being the pick. But I mean, it's the perfect area to swing. Like you're swinging. Marshawn Lloyd was a nice swing last year, right? We'll see how that goes. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at on Savion. I think there's a lot of exciting things to work with. It just feels very Watson-y, except with the throttle control. I feel like that's maybe the one big difference between the two.
Jeff, thank you for the question.
Yes.
I really appreciate that. It was a fun conversation. So I kind of feel like we have talked enough about the wide receivers over the last few weeks, and the offensive line. I think we should try and avoid offensive line tonight because we'll easily go an hour on it again, and they completely neglect some other positions. But I am kind of curious, Jake, to hear your thoughts on the wide receivers versus the rest of the North's secondaries. The Bears, I would say, in my opinion, clearly have the best secondary of the other three teams. Lions certainly have some potential, and Kirby and Branch obviously are what they are, and they're pretty good, but the corners are just super suspect, and just really continue to be nervous about corner there if I'm a Lions fan. So, if you're looking at the Vikings secondary, I got one name for you, Brian Flores, because that's the only name that is, scares you at all. The actual players that he has to work with in that secondary are, mid at best, NFL wide. I think that we will easily face much more difficult secondaries just in any average week than we would going up against Minnesota, were it not for Brian Flores, who I just really respect a ton as a play caller. So 100%. Respect the players, not so much. Respect the play caller, absolutely. Where are you at on the Bears and Lions, though?
Yeah, because, all right, I have to make sure this is right. Okay. Carlton Davis did join the Patriots. Okay, I thought so. Had to double check that. Yeah, I think the Bears, other than, again, Stevenson, Gordon plays the nickel very well. I think he has done a really nice job there. So maybe it's more of like corner two that I'd be, I think be more willing to attack. But as you said, I mean, when it comes to the Vikings, when I'm pulling up their depth chart now, I know they brought Murphy back, but like other than that, like I don't think I'm like, oh wow, like this is super, super good. Like I can't wait to see, this guy go up against one of our receivers, just because, again, I'm looking at this. Isaiah Rodgers, Jeff Okudah, Mekhi Blackman, who's coming off a pretty significant injury, Dwight McGlothern, who is, a corner out of Arkansas. Like this, just like the names are not great outside of Murphy, who, may play more nickel when the Vikings get into, obvious passing looks, because you want to take those free access plays over the middle, which totally understand that. But yeah, I mean, the secondary, it comes down to Flores. And Detroit is hoping Rakestraw's got something, and hoping Arnold doesn't have 18 penalties, whatever the number of penalties. It was a massive number of penalties. Arnold just seemed to panic a lot, which you didn't see on film as much at Alabama, which you saw it a couple times, but like he seemed very controlled and understanding that he had the speed and he had the technique to hang with anybody on the outside. So it was just very weird to see him panic a lot, which again, I think shows you the jump to the NFL is no joke and why draft picks, they just don't always pan out. The percentages speak for themselves. Yeah, the Lions, they're in a weird spot where I don't think them. I think anybody could finish fourth in this division, but it wouldn't.
Sure.
I think anybody could do it this year. I don't think there's any definitive consensus I'm looking at. Like if McCarthy plays fine, I think JJ, you might have mentioned it last week or the week before. Of like McCarthy plays fine, like Darnold's not some world beater either. So if McCarthy plays fine, like they're still a good team, and so like they can be right in the thick of things. Absolutely, the Lions. Maybe they don't skip a beat and they're still, outscoring teams while the pass rush and the safeties kind of they're hanging their head on that as much as possible on defense. But it could come crashing down. Like the interior of the offensive line we talked about at the top of Frank Ragnow and all these guys. Like guys on the way out, they could be in serious trouble. And so if they don't get a lot from Rakestraw, who thin frame, not the fastest or the quickest, right? Jameson, there was a play that they showed from OTA today for the Lions of like Jameson's release was wicked bad. It was like, release and his work to stack looked like almost he was running around a circle. And he still wins downfield. And it's like, well, if you don't got enough speed that Jameson feels like he doesn't even have to like run a proper release and route stem to defeat you, like that's not super encouraging. But maybe again, I think for Rakestraw, it's going to have to be: is he going to be physical enough at the line of scrimmage to reroute, disrupt? Because otherwise, he just doesn't have the speed. And again, he's already doing it with a frame that you don't see a lot on the outside. So I'm not at all worried about the Lions. I think Golden and Wicks, especially, should be dusting these guys. Reed might have a trickier assignment depending on if Branch is going to play nickel in certain situations against Green Bay just to contain Reed. I still think Reed has enough twitch and ability to get some wins there. So yeah, the Lions, not as concerned. The Bears, much more so because Jalen can lock down one side. You're going to have to chase the two. You're going to have to. But they and the Bears know that, though. That's the other thing. They know that. So
I would really want to get the Bears, all three of these teams, but especially the Bears. I would want to get them in nickel and dime as much as possible.
Yeah.
And really stretch their depth, because the one thing that the Packers freaking have on offense is depth at wide receiver.
Yes.
We can run 5-6 guys out there who are all, pretty equal talent to each other. And like eventually we're going to find somebody in your defense that we can pick on. So, hey, you may lock down 3 guys, but unless you're, really making life miserable for Jordan, I think he's going to find somebody. So that would be, particularly against the NFC North. Honestly, I maybe even though I like the starters for Chicago the best, maybe we'd feel the best about Detroit's ability to slow down a high volume passing attack, largely because of their linebackers. I think that if you are able to stay more in a base formation, their backers are much more capable of doing some damage in the passing game than Minnesota and Chicago, by a long shot.
Yeah, like in base, is like Ruben Hippolyte starting for Chicago?
I'm gonna be honest, that's the first time I've ever heard that name.
Ruben Hippolyte. That'll be something. They picked him on day 3.
Okay,
but man, in base, I want the Lions the least. I
Yeah.
agree. In base,
Well,
for sure.
this is a freaking thing.
Just
Like,
because, especially if, well, I know Anzalone's in that kind of dispute or whatever, contract wise, it sounds like. So that could change things a little bit. But yeah, when you have Campbell kind of being a hammer, right? Up front, he's 240, whatever. Like, that's dangerous stuff. When they have less corners on the field, they are in much, much better shape. Than the Lions have DJ Reed. That's right.
yeah, the Lions are stacked defensively. Like the Bears, depending on what you think of Tremaine, like I think they are average to fine at linebacker, and then like I hate the Vikings linebacker. I mean, their situation. I think it's just Van Ginkel and Blake Cashman. I think it's Andrew Van Ginkel and Blake Cashman.
Van Ginkel rushes, so he's not even like a. Yeah,
I mean, they're not even a 4-2-5. They're like a 5-1-5.
They're like a hybrid.
Hey,
like, we're not either
Brian
one of
Flores,
these.
man.
We're not either one of these. We don't care. Yeah, Van Ginkel is the Sam because he rushes. Turner kind of like is in that weird place as well. Yeah, their Pace and Cashman are fine. Like, boy, looking at the Vikings secondary is just kind of very funny to look at because they lost.
Dude, I'm telling you,
they
if they didn't have Brian Flores, he's a heck of a coach.
If they had whoever the Lions DC is stepping up, like I would be like ready. I'd be waking up Sunday morning, ravenous, ready to attack. That's secondary. But Flores puts a nice little blanket on it because he's playing palms on one side, quarters on the other, or he's playing 6 and you get 4 to one side and 2 to the other in terms of the cover. Like he's a menace. So it will be an unfortunate day when Hafley leaves to take a head coaching gig. It will also be an unfortunate day if I would assume when, but again, he's suing the league. I don't know if the league is,
I don't
because
think
of that.
Flores is never going to be a head coach in the NFL.
Yeah, so then that's a problem because
he's
just going to stick around, in Minnesota forever, which is
he's going to stick around until
which is tough.
Until like personal conflict pushes him out, whether that's him not liking the head coach or whatever. Like at some point, I think he'll want to move on just to a different environment, but he is not going to get any more looks at head coach, and like even if you did really like what he did with the Dolphins, and I more or less liked it. I didn't really have a problem with the job that he did there. And even if you are a person who feels
the problem is still there, he sits in the office making picks, and signing guys.
Yeah, that's
the real problem.
But even if you are a person who 100% sides with Brian Flores and you think he did nothing wrong, and you think that the Dolphins and the Broncos and the Steelers and whoever else mistreated him, if you think that they are all 100% in the wrong and it's completely binary, look, the NFL gangs together sometimes, and like there is no shot. And like I don't want to have a full Shedeur Sanders conversation, but like the biggest factor in Shedeur falling was that his amount of talent compared to the amount of headache that the NFL teams felt he was going to be for them, due to his dad, that it didn't outweigh each other. And I guarantee you that the NFL owners, all of them together, collectively, do not feel that the benefit that you get from Brian Flores as a head coach outweighs the potential headache that they think that he could be. And again, like I'm trying to be as neutral as possible here and just put that completely
the
just
NFL
in the mouths of the owners. But that's just where it is.
Yeah, the owners 100% do this. So, yeah.
Joseph Gleason, is there a precedent of DCs getting paid lots of money to not try for head coaching jobs elsewhere? Or are the guys like Spags all post-failed head coach gigs? Like, a little column A, a little column B. Like part of the problem is like there's just not a huge amount of ability to pay the amount of money that it would take for a guy. Because like every single coach in the NFL wants to be a head coach. 100% of them do. You get down to the quality control guy for the Bengals. Like he wants to be a head coach. So you occasionally will see like Ben Johnson situation where he just did not like the options that were there. He didn't want to be the Seahawks or the Commanders head coach. Yeah. And he clearly felt that they were going. I forgot Carolina.
Or Carolina, yeah.
But he clearly felt that he was an attractive enough candidate that he was still going to have his pick of the litter a year later, and he wanted to see what other options were going to come available to him. And if memory serves, he did get more money from the Lions as a result of that.
Yes, yeah.
That he didn't, let a good crisis go to waste. And he's like, hey, listen, I'm willing to come back, but you're going to have to make it worth my while. But I definitely think that him coming back had way more to do with what he thought of Seattle and Washington and the other options available. But like those were the two.
Yeah.
Than it did money or, like, okay, I live in Michigan. I hear a lot of chatter from Lions fans all the time. Like they were adamant that the reason he was coming back was because he believed the Lions could win a Super Bowl and he just loved the Lions that much. Like it's a nice idea. And I can see the appeal of wanting to believe that.
It's like, I'll chase the ring don't pass while the best job opens. That's the sense. It's right. A bit of both for sure. It's like, oh, I'm totally fine getting a little more money to go chase this one, and then when the right job opens, I will take it. So yeah, it is. Yeah, it's probably more complex than the one or the other thing for sure.
Yeah,
and I didn't mean to interrupt, but. I was gonna say to Joseph's question, like DC is the one thing that with the Spags and the Fangio guys of like they've tried the head coaching thing. Would they do it again? Spags maybe. I think Fangio's just super done with it. I think so. When the other thing is teams would prefer offensive-minded head coaches. Why? Because if you hire a defensive-minded head coach and your offensive coordinator is awesome, they're going to be leaving. They're going to be leaving. You're going to have to replace them. Now, you can still have guys who Campbell obviously played offense, so he knows more about it, but he's obviously also been, he definitely got the look because of the leadership stuff. And so if you have DCs who are good leadership guys, who are good hiring guys, who can bring in the right staff, who can keep bringing in good staff, right? As guys leave, like you can do that. But because the offensive-minded guys are going to be off the board first, right? The DCs almost would rather be paid more just to have that like kind of job security, right? Like Spags, I think hanging just like, I'll coach with Reed, keep paying me like we're good here, like chasing rings, because I don't want to have to deal with all of that, right? Like some of these aging DCs are very much in that boat. The young guys are going to want the job, right? But I do think you will get, DCs get paid lots of money because they don't want the gig and they're doing well. And yeah, teams will, of course, continue to maybe increase that salary a little bit as they go on. Like I'm sure Philly, if Fangio continues to stick around and they continue to be really, really effective, like he's going to probably get a little bump in salaries, next year, whenever. But yeah, when it comes to like Halfley, right, which I think is what Joseph's talking about, like I think you're hoping that the teams that are going to fire head coaches. So I'm trying to think who's going to be on the hot seat. Obviously, the New York Giants is a big one that comes to mind immediately. Probably Indianapolis is another one, right? Like it feels like they're finally, I think, coming to a head with the GM, and I think that will mean the head coach is out. Who else? I think Tennessee, they're going to let him go with the QB. Maybe
Yeah,
Dallas if Schottenheimer's just like not good and like they were kind of in that weird wait and see mode.
Well, I'll throw two names at you that are pretty hot.
Okay.
Tell me what you think about these spicy takes. Zach Taylor and Kevin Stefanski. Like the Browns just went 3-14.
Yeah, the Browns. Yeah, the Browns could.
Zach Taylor's career winning percentage through 6 years is, I mean, he's under 500.
Yeah. Listen, the Bengals just don't do that. Like Marvin Lewis stayed on way too long. People were waiting on Taylor to be gone, like even after the Super Bowl. They were like, yeah, they got there, but like not because of him.
Do you like Zach Taylor? Because I've always been a Taylor hater.
No.
Okay.
I cannot stand him. I don't. He's getting carried by three players. He's getting carried by three players.
On something that's like not mainstream consensus at all. And
he's getting carried by three players. He is.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Three players are keeping his job. Yeah. It is. Anarumo was really the reason they got there to the Super Bowl, right? Like the offense didn't play well against Tennessee. They didn't play that good against the Raiders either. So it was kind of like, well, we're down. We got to shut down Mahomes. Like they're a weird like they're not gonna like, oh, they've got Taylor. We're competitive enough, right? We've made the playoffs. We've made a Super Bowl. They're strange. They're not gonna like, oh, we're not breaking the bank for a new head coach. Like they would be like the last team to go after Ben Johnson, but they should have been the first team to go after Ben Johnson.
Well,
Period.
Coach Len here has
period.
Like, Coach Len's
Bengals
comment: the
so
Bengals
strange.
do business weird over there.
They
That's
are.
the most accurate thing you can say.
Yeah.
Tool for this: shut your face. Listen, the chat is going on a big Jeff Hafley conversation. Like they're just going on without us.
Jacksonville. They just hired Cohen. Unless it's like disastrous and it's like Urban Meyer, I don't think we're gonna get that. But
I wanna hit. Oh shoot, where did it even go?
Okay.
Here's the kind of the beginning. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Tool for this says, I don't know if Hafley is gunning for a head coach job from his perspective. Eventually, definitely, but I think he's happy for now. And so this was kind of the beginning of the thread, and there's a number of people commenting on it. And I 100% disagree. I don't think this could possibly be further from the truth. Just knowing Jeff Hafley the way I do, following him, through the NFL, his first time around, his time with the 49ers, going to Ohio State, jumping before the season was even done to Boston freaking College of all places. Sorry, like we love the North on this channel, but still, it's Boston College, and like it was not a great situation for Boston College either. And just talking to people who know him, Hafley has always desperately wanted to be an NFL head coach, and he went the college route, thinking at the time that college head coach was going to be the easiest stepping stone to NFL head coach. And it was kind of around that time that NFL teams started really feeling burned by dipping into college ranks for head coaches. So like at the time that he kind of made that decision for himself, it made kind of some sense.
Yeah.
And then it immediately looked bad, like not even anything to do with how he did with Boston College, although I don't think he did very well with Boston College at all. But just like, between Pat Fitzgerald and Lincoln Riley and
there's a good name.
The Cardinals guy was the Cardinals guy. The freaking Mahomes coach.
Cliff
Kingsbury.
Thought that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. So you had this string of, and then Urban Meyer. You had this string of NFL teams like really publicly feeling burned by going the college route, and like they cut it off cold turkey.
Yeah.
And so Hafley then gets the opportunity to jump from the college ranks to come be an NFL DC, and clearly in summer or spring 2024, at that point in time, NFL coordinator was like the best place to be if you want to go be an NFL head coach. Like that's his end goal. I'm sure that he loves the players that he's coaching in Green Bay. I'm sure he loves Matt and the staff. But I don't think it would have to be any kind of a decent team at all to make an offer to him for him to jump. I think pick the crappiest team you could think of. If they offered it to him, I think he would jump at the chance to be an NFL head coach. I really do. I think he would take some opportunities that I wouldn't take. If I had
there's
his,
a couple
his
that I would say no. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, one of them is down in Texas.
Yeah.
I don't. See,
well, another one would be in Arizona.
Thing.
I'll say.
Here's the thing. I don't think so, because for a couple things. Coach Lynn's saying the Titans.
Hold on.
As far as
this is saying halfly to the Titans.
I think he's saying hot seat, maybe.
But Brian Callahan. Oh, I guess he did coach
maybe he's
one
not.
season.
Maybe he's not though.
Yeah, he won like 3 games.
He's stuck around and they brought a new GM in, and clearly he was either on the same page as the new GM. I don't think he's getting fired in year one with Cam Ward, new QB, number 1 overall pick. They're gonna let this see this through. Maybe that's not what he's talking about. Maybe he's saying like Halfley might not take the Titans job. I don't know, but there are definitely some spots. We kind of mentioned the Giants, Dallas, Indy for sure. Pittsburgh, that's interesting. Pittsburgh, maybe. I don't know.
Tomlin's not going anywhere. We're going to be sitting here a decade from now.
No, this is what I mean. Like, if Tomlin wants out, I think is there. Pittsburgh won't fire him.
Why would he want out?
Well, maybe, I don't know. Maybe the 9-8 grind is tiresome for him. I don't know. It would be tiresome for me, if I'm being honest.
If there's any Steelers fans.
But, like, we talked about the state of Ohio. Ugh. Like, are we sure? Like, I don't know. I don't know what JJ's up to now.
Quit besmirching Ohio.
So that's where those are kind of the teams right now. And I had to go back to the, just to kind of put a cap on this, just to kind of, Halfley versus the field type of thing. Went back and was trying to look through like, okay, who are the guys that we met that didn't get one this past year who were being talked about a lot. Joe Brady, big one. Buffalo Bills offensive coordinator. Zach Robinson is somebody who is not on any list that I think people are going to start taking notice of. He is now in Atlanta, running that offense as the OC, came over from LA. Todd Monken.
That's right.
Yeah, Todd Monken from Baltimore, if he wants to make the jump to head coach at offensive coordinator right now. Like, those are the offensive guys. And then you have
it's still funny.
There's some talk about Anthony Weaver already from Miami, who did a great job last year. No complaints here, but that's an interesting one. There were a couple others. Halfley was a part of it. Minter from the Chargers, people are already highlighting, which I think is a fair one as well. Was there one more? I mean, McCarthy's
let me ask you this
out there, but like, meh. And then Cliff's another one, which, yeah, I don't know. Do people want to try that again? I'm not sure, but those are kind of, I think, the guys right now, and that can change. But those seem to be the guys who would probably have, be in that competition to him at the top of the list. So, yeah, we did mention Indy. Yeah, Indy would be in there for sure. So, I think those are your guys. I don't know if you had any others, JJ, that were.
No, I really didn't. No, I really didn't.
Yeah.
But I will say, just the last 2 minute, as you're running through all those names just there, this could shape up to be a much more desirable head coach crop than we've seen in a while. But there's been a few years in a row where you're just looking at it and you're like, okay, there's 1 or 0 attractive options here. And I could see maybe a handful being available this time. So that could be interesting. Not that the Packers are looking, despite all the
No.
articles that you see out there right now
No.
about like LaFleur on the hot seat. Like, and I tweeted out today. What hit me?
If he's on the hot seat, like if they're gonna fire him, like I'll just fire Halfley. What are we doing? Right? Like in-house is probably the way they go. Like this is an insane conversation to have, but I'm just saying. Like I don't.
Would you want Halfley as a head coach? I mean, first-time head coach.
He's already been in the
wasn't.
building, right?
I know, but like he's a defense. Like the Packers with a defensive-minded head coach
I guess
freaks me out a little bit.
That's fair.
There's just a lot of negatives to go in defense.
I just don't think I would be like, oh yeah, Cliff, come on down. Joe Brady,
No.
I don't know. I'm kind of iffy on that. He feels very Dallas to me in the next cycle. I got that weird feeling about Joe Brady to Dallas.
I'll tell you who I want.
Minter?
Give me the former Titans guy, Matt LaFleur.
Oh,
I'll take him as
There
our
you
head
go.
coach.
There you go.
Offensive-minded, brilliant, high character guy.
yeah, for sure. Gets a lot of
Great
haircuts,
eyebrows.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Jinx.
Yes. Yes. Very good.
Okay,
Very
listen.
good.
Re-railing. Okay, we're getting back on this. Look,
Back on the tracks.
you're not
Back on the
doing this to us,
tracks.
people. Not derailing us. Matt's
is like the-
seat is the cold side of the pillow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stop it, Toolfist. Stop it. I'm trying to get back to football. Stop it.
We're on football. What do you mean?
No, we're supposed to be talking about the Packers
Oh.
roster,
This?
not imaginary
This?
coaching vacancies that
I
don't
see.
exist. Freaking tool for this. Derailing.
Yet.
Ooh, Tyler Durschel. I went to the barber last week and told them
the
to
LaFleur
give me the
before.
LaFleur.
They look like the
So
afters.
your little YouTube profile picture kind of looks LaFleur-y. Like that's kind of the LaFleur haircut.
Honestly, yeah, kind of.
Shut up, tool for this. You're picking on me. You're being mean to
Matt
me tonight.
LaFleur is not football. Matt LaFleur's haircuts aren't, but
So here's where I said we're not going to talk about, like, we shouldn't get really in depth on our offensive line, but let's just take what we said about our offensive line already
okay,
and just talk about the NFC North defensive lines.
sure.
Because, like, obviously our big question, and we're not going to talk names, we're literally just talking about recapping. Our big question, of course, are the two guard spots. So, with that in mind, obviously the Lions have the scariest defensive line in the NFL outside of maybe Philly. You could throw San Francisco in the mix at times for sure.
Rams got something nice brewing, but
Credit to them for
but
putting that
they are
together
more of
post Aaron Donald.
they are more of a pass rush unit. Now they brought in Poona Ford, which should help them on early downs. But the Rams are still a very pass rush heavy defensive line. Like you don't see them.
Well, pass rush is what scares me, though. I mean, like when our offense crumbles is when we can't get the passing game going.
I'm just more thinking of like both. Like who's
Sure.
got both?
Sure.
That like really like, oh, we can control gaps and also can get after you. Like those are like the scary guys. And I think San Francisco's trying to be that, right? They drafted two guys, CJ West, Alfred Collins, who are like nose tackles, but also like West's pretty good presser percentage, right? As far as the nose tackle goes. And then they have Bosa, right? Of course. So, and they just traded for Bryce Huff. So, which Huff had a good thing going with Saleh in New York. So, maybe there's, they're building some out there. So I do like that shout. But yeah, Detroit being able to potentially, it just depends on how McNeil comes back, right? Is he going to come back okay off of that? I think it was ACL.
And them drafting Tyleik Williams in the first round is telling.
Yes.
Tyleik is a run stopper.
Gap control players. For sure.
And I think that, because he was a senior, got a lot of playing time at Ohio State. I think like of the defensive tackle options that you could try and, plug and play in place of a Lynn McNeil, you're going to go with a rookie. You could do a lot worse than Tyleik Williams.
Sure.
Doesn't add a lot as a pass rusher, but just really reliable run stopper with a lot of veteran experience.
For sure.
You got DJ Reader, obviously Aiden Hutchinson. Like they're their defensive line situation kind of, in my opinion, could only be undone by the new defensive coordinator not being up to the task. I forget his last name. Kelvin something. Kelvin, not Benjamin. Kelvin Gibbons or something. Gibson.
It's not Sampson, is it?
I think it's Gibson. Kelvin Gibson. Or if McNeil.
That's Houston's coach is what I was thinking of in basketball.
What's the guy's name? I'm going to go Gibson. Kelvin Gibson.
Hold on.
Joseph Gleason.
Kelvin Shepard.
Ah,
there it is.
Dang it. Okay. All right.
Okay.
So if McNeil really is not available and Tyleik Williams is just not good enough in year one, you could have some problems, I guess, and Aaron Glenn isn't there
DJ
to make
Reader,
magic happen.
But again, he's off of an injury as well, I believe. So there's a lot.
But again, you need 2 D tackles. Like, they're a 4 down front.
Sure.
You need 2.
For sure.
And I would say Reader is 1. And then
but he's he's a pass rush. Bring him in to go get after guys, right? I think that Broderick Martin, who they drafted, I think a lot higher than I think people thought he was going to go.
Yeah,
was like another potential nose tackle. Yeah, it might have been 3rd round. It was 3rd or 4th. So they've clearly decided to put a ton of big bodied guys and have a few of them be pass rushers. So I mean they do look kind of set as long as injuries don't destroy them again. But it's going to be the guy, and yeah, Hutch coming off that big time injury. They don't have a lot after him. Are they going to be getting snaps from Hassanin in year one? Don't know.
They'll have to. I would
Pascal,
say they have to.
Pascal is he's got that he might have been just too tweener, unfortunately, for the league, which there are some of those, right? And that could be a scheme thing as well. But him, Marcus Davenport, it's not ideal. So if the guys cannot come back 100%, which I don't think they should be expecting to. Is McNeil, Joseph put in the chat if McNeil's coming off ACL. If that's the case, which just making sure.
I didn't think it was, but let me just see.
It might be. And that's again, we talked about, Jenkins and you've talked about a lot, JJ, with Jenkins, coming off of that injury, and now Watson's going to come off of that, right? It's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
Right. And we're not on no natural grass either. In Detroit, man, we've got, the turf is there. So,
and some of the worst turf in the league.
So I don't know, that it could be a scary situation if it's if he gets rushed back. So they there's a lot of talent there, but it's again question
if
coming
the Lions,
off of injury. So yeah, it wasn't an early tear either. So it was
if the Lions can't really put it together at D line. Is there a single good defensive line in the NFC North? Miss me with Grady Jarrett and Jervon Dexter and Shamar Turner. Miss me with Harrison Phillips and Jonathan Bullard. And it's well documented how you and I feel about the Packers defensive line, just crazy thin depth. We're scraping to come up with 5 D tackles to stash on the initial 53. And that's, including Kenny Clark as a starter, who we don't really want as a starter.
It seems there's more talent on the edge than there is at defensive tackle in this division right now.
Which,
if the Bears get something out of Odeyingbo, who's dealt with a lot of injuries he had an Achilles tear before he was even drafted by the Colts. If they get anything out of him, I think that's a win. If they get anything out of Austin Booker, who was built kind of like a palm tree coming in, impressive there. And they've kind of done the let's build the committee at defensive tackle. So
wait, explain built like a palm tree. I'm sure that's a common phrase, but
pretty thin. He's pretty thin boy. He's not he's not like these girthy redwoods. It's more of you could.
Does he have an afro? Does he have if he had an afro and was thin, then the palm tree definitely really fits.
I don't know. Maybe.
Let me pretend that Tyler Dershel is laughing at my joke.
Like it just, yeah, it seems like, yes, the Grenard and Van Ginkel, potentially Dallas Turner. We'll see if they get anything more out of him. And like, yes, they brought in Hargrave, which I think is more interesting than Jonathan Allen, at least to me at this point in their two careers. So like, yes, I think like Hargrave, Grenard, Van Ginkel, and Turner present more of a pass rush issue, but I don't know if we're looking at like, are Allen and Phillips going to do a lot for you in gap control against the run? No, I think I fear Detroit more in that area, health willing, right, for them. So I do think all three of these defensive lines have their warts for sure. The Bears are kind of banking on a lot of potential and hope that Grady Jarrett still has it and their young guys are going to make that jump. So like they're betting on a lot of potential, which is, kind of where, there's not a lot of proven there outside of Sweat, who even still isn't like this supremely exceptional sack artist, pressure cooker, like this guy on the edge, top tier, technician, athlete, all that stuff. The Vikings are more pass rush than run D, and the Lions are kind of like could have everything but injuries. So there's a lot of question marks. And so Green Bay coming in with a unit that's, relatively healthy and kind of built to punch in the mouth a little bit. Like, I think they're in a really good spot. They're in a really good spot right now, especially if what I think will be, I imagine, their starting five, unless something wild happens, Walker, Banks, Jenkins, Belton, and Tom. That's a beefy unit. Like, come get some, okay? And then all the depth.
It's interesting because there's some really
right?
decent offensive lines in the division, and then the defensive tackles kind of brought across the board. You're only impressed on paper with Detroit and injuries out the wazoo, plus a new DC. So
it's true. And when you look at the offensive lines, I don't know if we want to kind of hit on that just because our defense, we talked a little bit about Gary and Van Ness and doing all that stuff. And Wyatt, and hoping that Brooks and Kenny can find a little bit of something, and maybe the Georgia guys will provide a spark as rookies, which is a lot to ask. But yeah, Minnesota, of course. Darrisaw's coming off injury, right? And I think that was also an ACL.
That sounds right.
That was like week 5 or 6, I think. So
the Vikings are in this weird spot where like they have great coaching, and like solid, but not elite anywhere across the entire roster. Like, you have your superstars in the wide receiver room, and then that's kind of like it as far as superstar. Like, there's not holes on the Vikings roster, but also there's nowhere that really scares you outside of like, well, this room, like they're fine, but the coach is really good. Like, you can see that like 5 times about the roster.
No, there's no question. Yeah. No, I agree. I think Darrisaw, I saw this recently. He's got the brace on, but he's on, doing on-field stuff. So good for him. That's cool that hopefully, he'll be back and we get to go best on best during the season. Because, when healthy, he is one of the best. I think when you talk about, left tackles, Brian O'Neill's done a nice job, but they really went, and said, we have a problem. And they went and attacked it. Good for them. Donovan Jackson in the first round. They go get Will Fries. They go get Ryan Kelly as well. So like they, you can't fault them for, they're making sure that everything's in place as much as possible for McCarthy to get going under center. So again, like the Lions, they have a lot of questions now about the interior of the offensive line. The Bears, Jonah Jackson didn't really play last year too much. And Tooney's good, but, do you feel comfortable with Braxton Jones, or is Trapilo going to take over and it's going to be Trapilo and Wright? Maybe Wright playing the left and then Trapilo playing right tackle. Like, there's going to be some shifting there. And then is Dahlman the guy, right? Is it going to be just all wide? Is it going to be all zone stuff? Are they not going to get vertical in the run game? If so, that's fine. If they are trying to do both, there's a weakness there. Dahlman, not a powerful guy, quick guy, positioning guy, not a power guy. So Bears have a few question marks as well along the offensive line. I think the two that I'm more confident in is Wright making a jump and Tooney than the rest right now. So, yeah, Minnesota, as you said, their roster is, doesn't wow you in a million spots. Like Darisaw, Grenard, and obviously the receivers. Hawkinson has been always very steady player. Again, the running back room is fine. They go get Jordan Mason for essentially nothing, which might actually help them out. But yeah, they're just kind of plodding along with like a really solid roster, and just as you said, not a lot of gaping holes, because the gaping holes are filled by the coaching staff, by what's going on the sideline, by the minds in the room. So can't imagine. Could you imagine what would go on if Detroit's roster, when healthy, had O'Connell and Flores? Nothing against Dan Campbell, not at all. But like if they had those two,
which is kind of damning indictment of Kwesi. Like
a little bit.
He's
they just haven't any picks. We still have a lot of picks.
That's what happens when you give all your picks away to keep moving up for guys. Like it's, and this was
we just run out of picks. I don't know what to tell you.
This is why I never respected Ryan Pace. Like he would grab a couple good guys per draft cycle, but he only had a couple picks because he kept giving. I mean, you even look at he's like moving up like 4 times per draft. Like, oh, I got to go get this. 6th round wide receiver, and so I got to trade up to go get him. And I'm like, okay, you're not going to make picks next year. And sure enough, you don't.
Yeah, that's just Vikings need to figure out how to build a war chest of picks. I think Goody could offer some advice there. I think, if Kwesi is willing to, give him a call, I think there might be something there. So
Adam Huddle, welcome.
Hey,
says the Vikes are a Rodgers away from the Super Bowl.
You know what though,
Jake? Thumbs up or down on that statement? Do you agree with it?
I think it could happen if Rodgers truly embraces what O'Connell and them are doing. Yeah, I could see that for sure. I could see it. Aaron Rodgers doing his best Nick Foles impression down the stretch after a McCarthy injury, stays unsigned, watches Pittsburgh go 9-8 again, and lose by 42 in the opening round, and says, no, I want to wait for the opportunity. There's no question. We've already had this discussion, but if you asked me to pick between the two, I'm laughing. I'm laughing. You let me pick? I would never go to Pittsburgh over Minnesota right now. So is Lazard coming as well? Are we getting Lazard in Minnesota?
Oh, and Jake Kumaro and Billy Turner and Jeff Janis and hopefully Matt Orzek this time.
What do they need? What do they need?
What does who need? The Vikings?
I mean, Jalen Naylor's a solid number 3, but maybe they go get him. Yeah, but see, he did it for 1 year. He may only need to do it for 8 games in Minnesota. If McCarthy goes down again. So,
Yeah, Chris has the answer. You asked whether Chris has it. DBs. You asked what does Minnesota need?
They do. They do need.
Yeah,
DBs,
Chris has the answer. It's DBs.
But you got a guy who's figuring it out in the room, coaching up these guys. They 100% do. Rasul Douglas still free agent, right?
Yeah, as far as I know, yeah.
Yeah, they should be bringing him in. No question.
I know another team that should be bringing in Rasul Douglas.
Probably. You're right. Yeah, you're right. So
it continues to just befuddle me. The 2 positions on this roster with glaring obvious needs that they're not addressing of defensive line and cornerback. I don't understand how Goody's looking at the just forget what you think of the guys you have. Just look at the numbers. The numbers are way below where they need to be. How many cornerbacks are we going to keep this year? 3. like seriously, we can't put together
Yeah.
5 without including 7th round rookie Micah Robinson, who sure he'll probably make the team, but don't you want more than 5 corners on the roster?
Yeah.
Who are you even going to put on the practice squad? I mean, genuinely, the only other names out there, it's like Kalen King and nobody. Watch it. The next Rasul Douglas is currently sitting in our. We got a pile of 6 names here. Jonathan Baldwin.
It's probably Baldwin.
Isaiah Dunn, Kamal Haddon, Tyron Herring. One of those guys is going to be Hall of Fame or something.
It's probably Baldwin or Haddon. Yeah. Sitting in the wings, ready. Unless it's King, but.
I mean, I like King more than most. I'm probably falling victim to his second to last year in college and the way too early pre-draft hype that was unfounded. But Coach Lynn says Douglas looked a step slow last year. He could have been hurt, but I would like him back. Yeah, again, I would just like some other bodies on the roster.
Yeah.
So we got Jaire
That'd be nice.
and Nate Hobbs. Jake really likes Nate Hobbs. We got Keyshawn. I would certainly say I like Keyshawn better than Hobbs. We got Carrington. I probably like Carrington about as well as I like Hobbs. And then we got 7th round rookie Micah Hobson. So, with Jaire back, and I've always said he was going to be back, and Jake has always said he's going to be back. Nate Hobbs to the slot feels more likely than it would have otherwise, of course. Keyshawn should be in the slot, but certainly a chance that he'll be on the boundary. No, he doesn't. Which is props to Keyshawn for his ambitions, but you look at his production in the slot versus his production on the boundary. Man, lean into your strengths, please.
Yeah.
Tyler Dershel says Zach Tom is running routes at wide receiver. How about Zach Tom to cornerback? Have him play boundary corner.
Yeah. Zach Tom to defensive tackle.
Chris says all we have is slots and Carrington Valentine. I mean, Jaire on paper should be a slot, but obviously he can, play like a mamma jamma on the boundary. We've seen that. But on paper, he should be a slot, right?
Probably.
So yeah, I don't disagree. Valentine is the only prototypical boundary corner that we have. So, Coach Lynn, can Bullard be on the perimeter? Do you think, Jake? Can Bullard be an NFL football player? Let's start with that.
Yeah, he can. Will he? I don't know. Don't know. That remains.
Would you place a if you were going to place a $3 bet on him either being an NFL football player or not being an NFL football player? No. Where would you put your money? It's a $3 bet.
I don't know. I don't know because I don't know if he's just if they're giving him a home, if they're making him wear multiple hats again in year 2. I wish I knew what the if I knew the plan, I would feel more comfortable making the bet. But I don't. I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking because as kind of people have pointed out, a lot of these guys play slot corner. So is Bullard going to, just be back at safety in a crowded group as well? I don't know. I don't know what the plan is. I would trust Malachi Starks a little bit more at outside corner.
Yeah, well,
that would have been fun.
A lot of woulda, coulda, shoulda.
That would have been a nice fun time.
We got the guys we got.
Yep, it's true.
Tool fist. I'm not reading that out loud, but that's hilarious. So,
well, we got it. I'll read it. Coach Lynn saying Baby Green Bay is leading into a positionless secondary, and a tool for this says they call it we secondary.
Here's the
great shout out to the we fence and Versace. So
No, we fence is not a Bisaccia term. That's a Matt LaFleur original.
Is it?
Oh yeah, no, we fence has been around for a while.
Well, I just figured it was stupid because I just figured it was Bisaccia because it was stupid. So.
Oh no.
Oh. See,
No,
these are the things. These are the things.
LaFleur has
you
a
could
history
get me
of
with
naming
trivia
things
because I
questionably.
have no clue.
And talking about urine.
Yeah. Well.
Okay. I mean, you and I have X and Evan Williams as the starters at safety, and then Bullard like rotating in at nickel. You know, assuming he can beat out Catan and Keyshawn and Nate Hobbs and Zane Anderson. Like, that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah.
Is it weird that I feel better about our top 4 guys at safety, excluding Bullard, than I do our top 4 at corner?
No.
Like, so Xavier, Evan Williams, Catan, and Zane Anderson.
What?
Versus Jaire, Hobbs, Valentine, and Keyshawn.
I don't know.
Is it weird that I feel better about the safeties?
It's weird that you're mentioning Zane Anderson. I think that's the weird part.
Okay, so you want me to have Javon in our top 4 safeties?
Yeah, because Zane, we've already covered this, but Zane Anderson's not real. So he can't be included there in the top 4 if he's not real. Zane Anderson is an industry
If you
plant.
liked The Office,
Zane Anderson's an
for
industry
this,
plant.
and I have a clip for you, man.
I'm sure. There's probably an Office clip for a lot of things.
Coach Len says, "Don't sleep on
Would
Oladapo."
never.
Listen,
Would
there's 2
never
things that
over
this
here.
channel does not
Would
sleep
never
on.
do that.
Ed Policy and Catan Oladapo. All
Would
right?
never sleep on Oladapo. No chance.
Tool for this wants to know, who was it wearing an Anderson jersey at camp? It's a valid question. Maybe it was
Some
Dershel.
people are saying it's Aaron Rodgers looking for that one-day contract to retire as a Packer. Some are saying.
Hey, look at this. You know,
Some are
this
saying
is
it's
kind
Corey
of
Venke.
sus.
You know?
Tom
Some are
Grassi.
saying. Yeah, maybe it's Grassi. I don't know.
This is a sus comment from Tyler Dershel, okay? Because I just speculated that maybe Dershel was the one wearing the Zane Anderson jersey, and now here he is going,
wait a minute.
Oh, I hear that Zane Anderson guy is a baller. Man, he's a stud. That's a little sus.
This is getting, yeah. What's going on here, Tyler Dershel? What's going on here?
Are you even actually getting married? Or is this your cover story for every time you are away at OTAs?
Yeah.
Are you getting married, or are you?
I am Zane Anderson. Oh, this is good.
No, my girlfriend's real, man. You just don't know her. She's from Canada.
She's as real as Zane Anderson.
She goes to a different school.
Oh, is Tyler Dershel Manti Te'o Part 2? Question mark.
Oh my god!
Many are asking to
Zane Anderson.
Many are asking.
Was Manti Te'o's girlfriend the entire time?
Could be.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Coach Len says, what's Ed Policy's first major item of business for the Green Bay Packers? Obviously, it is to instate the song that we wrote as the official Green Bay Packers theme song. Duh.
That plays on the sledding hill, round the clock, during the season. Okay?
Life goal. I want Ed Policy someday to hear the song and to just be aware that our YouTube channel exists and our Ed Policy shtick about him. And he has to know that Ed Policy Day is a thing that exists.
Yes. That would complete one of my few football goals, I think.
I don't even need him to come on.
Recognized? No. I just want to know.
I don't even need him to
knows.
come on here.
No,
yeah.
I just want to know that he knows about it. And
I don't even need to know that he knows.
I want him
to know.
I want to know that he knows. I want someone to ask him about an oppressor and be like, "Yeah, I've heard of those guys. Their song's very catchy. I like it." Like that's peak right there. Once again, off the rails as usual. Love that.
Chris likes the
did
song. I appreciate you. Thanks.
Kind of did to ourselves, Zane Anderson.
Speaking of Zane Anderson, is Isaiah Simmons going to make the 53? We put him on there when we did our official 53.
You know, it feels too early for me.
Here's why I bring it up. Okay, this is the next position group that I want to kind of stack up against the rest of the league. Is kind of universally when you hear people running through their assessment of the Packers' strengths and weaknesses, one of the first places they start after guard would be linebacker. All right, we need 3. I would say we have 3 because I like Isaiah McDuffie, Quay, Edgerrin, and McDuffie. A lot of people don't like Quay. A lot of people don't like McDuffie. Whatever. Shut up. You're stupid. I don't like Tyron Hopper. All right, he's solidly in the Travis Glover, John Ford, Matt Orzech territory for me. I mean, I'm happy to have him around as a special teamer, but like I don't want him counting, in our linebacker room as like, hey, he might be out there playing snaps for us. So
can I ask this? Would we be excited about Isaiah Simmons if he didn't block that extra point?
Who's we? Who's excited about Isaiah Simmons? I'm just asking, is he going to make the roster? How do you extrapolate excited from that?
I mean, would we even be talking about Isaiah Simmons if he did not block that extra
I mean,
point
we're
against
talking
the
about
Seahawks?
freaking Sean Ryan and Travis Glover and Matt Orzech. So, yeah, I think if you're on the roster, we talk about you.
Whoa.
Okay, here's
a
list of the guys we don't talk
those
about.
3 names in the same set.
JJ Lippy, Johnny Lumpkin, Cornelius Johnson.
That's where Glover belongs.
And Nesta Jade Silvera. Those are the guys on the roster we don't talk about.
That's where Glover belongs. Okay.
That is where Glover belongs. But we spent a freaking draft pick on him. So, pardon my French, but Travis Glover. All right? Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Joseph Gleason, why is McDuffie so loved and Bullard not? I'm going to let Jake take this one because I think he's going to have a better rant than I will. Because he's more strongly opinionated about Bullard than I am.
I have no idea because usually everybody sticks to like the draft picks over like established vets who are on second contracts who aren't like overly flashy. So I don't know. I don't know why McDuffie's loved a ton. I'm not sure. He does the dirty work.
He tackles hard.
Linebacker. He tackles hard. Which there have been a lot of great prospects that tackle hard and then don't ever do anything. But he's Dean Lowry in that. Well, he is reliable. There's something
you don't have to worry about whether he's going to do his job. He's limited athletically,
which I mean could hamper you doing your job a little bit. There is some of that to it too. Where
he's also kind of okay. We got Edgerrin Cooper now, but he's also kind of one of the only thumpers we've had on defense in a while. Just like
it's true.
That's just not the style of defensive roster that Goody has built.
There we go. There it is.
Oh, go ahead.
There it is.
McDuffie is the Frank.
Yes, this one.
Zombo. 2025-26 Super Bowl
That's
champ
the
Green Bay
one.
Packers.
Well, now, remember, Frank Zombo, they blitzed a lot. Like, maybe that's who Prince Capsaicion's bringing up here, Colin Oliver. Maybe he ends up being the Frank Zombo.
Well, let's hit this for a second. Brain's out of my skull.
It is kind of wild that Isaiah McDuffie is doing this whole thumper thing at like 228 or whatever. I do find that very interesting.
All right.
Like, he's just not big. He's not big at all. He just isn't. And it somehow works.
I like Prince Capsaicon's thought here of your Sam, Isaiah Simmons, Colin Oliver. What's that?
Not even a question for me. But yes.
No.
It's what you're saying is this is the question.
Well, I don't think that the question is like who between those two guys. I'm just saying I like Prince's thought of Oliver to Sam. But the fact remains the Packers coaching staff and the front office view Colin Oliver as a defensive end, not as a 4-3 blitzing linebacker, right? Which is where we think he'd be the most effective.
Yeah, again, if
he's good in coverage, like not to throw that out either.
Well, I mean, again, in third downs, can you call him a defensive end? Sure, if you'd like to. I'm whatever. You want to call him that for third downs when he's rushing the passer? Excellent. Is he going to be the 4-3 defensive end early down player? No. Everybody will run at the 240-pound guy. Yeah, if he's playing defensive end.
Which is why we and Prince Capsaicin like Simmons to Sam. Have it because I think I remember you agreeing with this. We like what Colin Oliver did in coverage in college. That I think that he can play there well enough that he's not a liability. You can have him out there, off the line of scrimmage on those early downs, and then blitz him or bring him up or even sim pressure. I'd be fine with that.
Yes.
Like sim.
Yes.
On third down, like, man, if you could build up a reputation that he's like this wicked third down pass rusher, like get creative with playing off those expectations, please.
Absolutely.
Oh, Joseph says Hafley mentioned him doing some on-ball linebacker stuff, not just defensive end. Yeah, and
thank you.
I mean,
I knew
like
Hafley's
the guy. Hafley's the guy to do it.
I knew he was a smart guy.
What the heck is our defensive line coach's name?
That Hafley fella, Covington.
Is that his name? Sean Covington? No. Sean's the linebacker.
DeMarcus
is DeMarcus Covington? I mean, DeMarcus Covington is definitely a name. I just can't remember if that's who our guy is.
It is.
Yeah. Okay. DeMarcus Covington from the Patriots, defensive line coach and run game coordinator. So he was talking about defensive end for
what's he know? He's new here.
Yeah. Valid.
That's more of a joke, but it's more of a joke, but it is funny. If Hafley actually said that, Hafley's like, whoa. This guy over here, he's new, he's running his mouth. No, we're gonna do a lot of things.
Frankly, also like
again,
the defensive end comments
he was
were
defensive end. Yeah, I mean, like
immediately after the draft.
Yeah, and so he's just
And so if Joseph's report that Hafley talked about him doing an on-ball linebacker, that must have been today. Did he say that today? Because I have not been on social media since. I do not know. I did not get a chance to catch up on what all the coaching interviews and stuff were. I didn't even hear the Kenny Clark thing. So, I'm guessing that's today, and that's really encouraging if it is. So, at that point, I think you're maybe talking about Colin Oliver versus Isaiah Simmons and Isaiah McDuffie. And it's a tough ask for a rookie to come in and take that job away from those two guys, for sure. But, I mean, I don't think that Jake or I would hesitate for 1 second to say we'd rather see Colin be given that opportunity,
Yeah, it's true.
Like I kind of would want it to be Colin's job to lose. Like frankly, like let's play a few games and see if he can't do it.
Yeah.
Do we think the Pack had defensive coordinator post Hafley in mind when they signed DeMarcus Covington? Didn't he do okay in New England with what he had? Well, I mean, yeah, for sure. But like that's also kind of what they're thinking with a bunch of their position coach hirings. Like they made him the run defense coordinator.
Yeah. Right? Maybe.
So like yes, but
maybe.
How big of a deal is that really?
Maybe, but
I don't think that he's like the heir apparent. I just think that he is a guy that LaFleur and Hafley want to develop.
Yeah.
That's true of most of the coaches they bring in. All right, it's the rare coach they bring in
who that's identify
who that's not where their head is at. You know,
yeah,
like Bisaccia would be an example of like that's not why they brought him in. But you look at all the quality control coaches. You look at at least 60 to 70% of the position coaches. It's why they bring him in. Like, what's our freaking Ryan Downard, the quality control guy who we promoted to co-safeties coach and then made him the defensive backs coach and then kind of demoted him back down to co-safeties coach again. Like, you know, they think the world of him. They think that he's going to be a defensive coordinator and a head coach someday. Like that. That's where they're at on him. All right.
Yeah.
So do I think that's what the Pack had in mind when they signed him? They had in mind developing him.
It's probably
the fact that they give him the run defense coordinator pay bump, like he was, you know, a priority get for them for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I starred this one because I think it's a good conversation.
Kraft might be number 3, so obviously he's thinking Laporta 1. Oh, the Vikings guy, former Lions.
Yeah,
Hawkinson. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I would go Kraft 3 behind those two. For a second, I thought you were going with the Bears guy. I can't get on board with that at all.
I could be on board with it. Loveland, sure. Maybe.
No, shut up. No.
No. You're talking about Kmet? No.
I'm talking about Cole Kmet.
No.
I'm not remotely on board with Cole Kmet as
me either.
Being better than Tucker
I'm
Kraft.
talking about Loveland. We talk about the real starting tight end in Chicago.
I mean, I would today, June 3rd, 2025, put Colston Loveland ahead of Cole Kmet.
I would, as of April 24th, 2025, put Colston Loveland ahead of Cole Kmet.
2025, that late? Man, I would have thought you were. You know,
I thought he was going to be a Packer. Why would I put him ahead of Cole Kmet? You know,
just based on pure talent alone, just based on the fact that Cole Kmet is overrated and overpaid.
I wish I was at the ball last weekend, and there was a big sports store in the mall, and I saw a Loveland Bears jersey, and it ticked me off. Didn't like it. Didn't like the way it looked. I guarantee it.
I have sympathy for you. I really do.
That hurts, man. It sucks.
Loveland is not like a guy that I like cared about in that way remotely, but there are certainly things that I feel that way about in life, and I mean it's pain. It is pain.
It is. Yes.
A lot of my pain plays offensive line.
Well,
or defensive line.
Frankly. That's fair.
I'm kind of a trenches guy. I hadn't really thought about that, but I'm a trenches guy. You know, like whenever we talk like skill position, like it kind of almost doesn't matter who the player is or what team it's on. Like if it's not Justin Jefferson, I'm always kind of poo-pooing it.
Yeah.
I'm like, that corner's overrated. That safety's overrated, whatever. But then, you know, you talk like somebody's 3rd round pick at guard who isn't even playing for him, and I'm like pissed that the Packers didn't take him 2 years ago. Or like defensive tackle. Like the fact that we didn't go defensive tackle early this year or offensive line early last year.
Yeah. Well, we did
like
go
I can't
offensive
like
line
I can't
early
like
last year. It just wasn't.
No, we didn't. We went project early.
It wasn't what we wanted.
Yeah. No,
I think there was more project on the board even when they took Morgan. So
wait, what?
Guyton, Suamataya, like there were some even bigger projects in Morgan's draft year that I was worried the Packers were going to take. So
yeah. Well, I'll tell you who I actually wanted at offensive line when they took Jordan Morgan. I wanted Tyler Smith. That's who I really wanted.
When they took Morgan?
When they took Jordan Morgan, Tyler Smith was still on the board. So the Cowboys originally owned a pick.
You mean Guyton?
For us.
You mean Guyton?
Tyler
Smith was in like 2022 draft with like Penning and all that.
Tyler Guyton.
Yeah,
that
Guyton
who
was
the-
in this past. Yeah, Guyton was in the 2024 one. Yeah.
That's who they took like
Yes,
one
there
or
are a
two
lot
picks
of
after us.
Tylers on. Yeah, there are a lot of Tylers in Dallas, so it's understandable.
Oh, wait a minute.
Because they got Booker too.
Jake, did I ask you this question last week, or was this a conversation that I was having? Yeah, I had this conversation like yesterday. Okay.
Okay.
Name a Jake who has been good at football in the NFL. It was not a kicker.
Dang it.
Name a Jake.
Dang it.
There are none.
I don't think there's a Jake.
This came up because it was my mom. My mom and I were talking about Jake Kumaro. And then also, so we were watching this Cardinals game, and I was reminded that the Packers had just a litany of Jakes from like 14 to 2020. There were just a bunch of Jakes. We had, Prince Capsaicin says Jake Plummer.
Jake Ferguson? Yeah, Plummer's an interesting one.
But like, for how many Jakes get drafted, and for how many Jakes the Packers have had?
Jake
Like
Ryan.
Jake Ryan.
Yeah. The QBs are rough.
What's his name? Browning?
Browning, Fromm. Oh, Delhomme was a QB for a while. Carolina.
Yeah.
Delhomme and Plummer.
We got a
right.
couple guys heading out here.
It's
Appreciate you.
okay.
Thanks for
you
hanging out.
know why? Because of Florida center Jake Slaughter.
Jake Slaughter.
We're in good
He's
hands.
gonna break he's gonna be the Tucker Kraft of Jakes. Tucker Kraft broke the 3rd round curse for the Packers.
Mm-hmm.
Slaughter is gonna break the Jake curse. You can be an excellent NFL commentator and be named Jake, but until Slaughter enters the league, you cannot have been a Jake and be good at football.
Yeah, it's true. Coach Lynn asks, is there any lineman you wanted over Belton in the 2nd round of the draft?
Oh, okay. I'm going to be honest. I'm a little bit of where Jake was just saying a couple, earlier in the show that like this draft class has already exited his brain. I am rapidly forgetting everybody we did not draft, and frankly, I'm having a hard-ish time remembering, like Warren Brinson and Micah Robinson, like some of the guys that we took on day 3. So offensive lineman, I didn't love the offensive line class overall as much as I did say last year.
In the 2nd round, maybe Ratledge. Maybe Ratledge, maybe Trapilo. It's unfortunate they both went to division rivals. That's about it, though.
I mean, like, there were guys available. So Ursery had just gone a few picks before we went. I wasn't really in on Trapilo.
I don't know.
There was
well, you knew they weren't going to draft Ratledge because he's a guard.
I wasn't big on Dylan Fairchild.
No.
Wyatt Milam. Emery Jones. I wasn't in on any
Emery
of these
Jones
guys,
in the 3rd was.
I liked Jerry Wilson a bit. I didn't like him like 2nd round like him.
Yeah, that's the tricky part of this.
Caleb Rogers, I didn't hate.
I mean, yeah, could we have done Golden, Amos, and Caleb Rogers? Sure. But like, I don't know. In the 2nd O-line, not really like a. It's not really like a guy. Ooh, I really wanted this guy over Belton. As I said, I think Trapilo and Ratledge were like guys maybe in that conversation, but like not really anybody was like, oh, I'd much rather have this guy than Belton. Like it wasn't like anything like that.
I mean, there's a handful of names that you could have taken in the second round, and I would not have been mad about it, but also I would not have said prior to them getting drafted, like, oh yeah, second round is good value for him. Like if we had taken, I don't know, Jackson Slater or Marcus Bowe in the second round, like I wouldn't have been mad. I wouldn't have done it myself, but I also wouldn't have been mad. There have certainly been picks that we have made, Amari Rodgers, who I was mad when we took them because it just felt like crap value to me.
Yeah.
2024, who do we take? Oh,
like
Tyron Hopper, we took in the third round. Instantly made me mad. Of just like, it was clearly not worth where he was taken. Yeah, maybe Miles Frazier. I think he went to the Lions.
Yeah.
Again, like these are guys like I wouldn't have taken them in the second round, but I also would not have been outraged of like, how could you possibly see them as a second round? This is a reach.
Yeah. Would something like Donovan Jackson, Kyle Williams maybe have been more interesting to me than Golden Belton? Maybe.
Well, and you're looking at like the end of the first round. Like this is different.
Okay.
This is Matthew Golden.
Yeah.
I would have loved Josh Connerly, Donovan Jackson.
Connerly would have been
Josh Simmons.
Yes, of course.
Josh Simmons would have been nice.
Second round was a tricky spot. The offensive line and corner, there was like one guy at each, I think, left that at least a lot of people thought, and they were Belton and Amos.
Like the guys that we missed out on by taking Belton were Trey Harris, Trey Amos. Like those are the two.
Alexander.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Let me ask you a crazy question.
Okay.
Who would you rather have? Just 50-50 this.
Okay.
Darius Alexander or Ty Robinson? I'm guessing it's not close for you. For me, it's close. And my answer would be Ty.
I think I'd rather have Alexander, but like I think it's for one. There's a major reason. I want to make sure it's right though.
Azareye'h Thomas.
Yeah,
in the
arm length for Alexander is like off the charts for a D lineman.
Okay.
And to me, with both of their disruptive ability, to me that would scream maybe just the potential to have a bit more control in a lot of those contact scenarios of the point of attack. Like that would probably just give me the edge. Otherwise, like, yeah, I like both in terms of their disruption skill set. So
Jordan Birch over Anthony Dalton would have been fine with me. Savion is where you immediately just start making some big and obvious comparisons because, like, after the third round, there definitely was a bit of a dip, and it was just such a surprising player, a surprising position, surprising player. So,
Robinson
you immediately
West,
look at
Robinson and West at D tackle are like the first ones that
Ty Robinson 100% would have been my pick at the Savion Williams pick, and it like not even remotely close. I would have sprinted to turn that in.
Scattaboo.
Yeah, I guess. Jared Wilson, Xavier
Watts, definitely, yeah. Wouldn't have minded
DK,
Caleb Rogers
I guess
there, but yeah.
Wait, who Rogers?
DK, you said?
Yeah.
At receiver.
Who Rogers were you talking about? Caleb Rogers?
Caleb Rogers, yeah.
Caleb Rogers, I would have been happy with it at that
I would have been fine with
round
that
3.
for sure.
I mean, like it's not even close. Ty Robinson, not even close.
I know.
And we weren't even really close to our next pick in the 4th round by the time he went at 111.
Yeah. Yeah, it started hurting watching those D tackles start to go.
Yeah,
Green Bay just kind of sat there and was like, "Oh,
I mean,
this is tough."
like, just Goody has never valued defensive tackle. I mean, he did take Devontae Wyatt and Carl Brooks and Colby Wooden, but he does not value the position. Never has. It's always been neglected. And you look at there was a period of time where he had taken TJ Slayton, Devontae Wyatt, Carl Brooks, and Colby Wooden, kind of all in relatively quick succession. And you felt like, oh man, now it's finally a priority. And then Slayton and Wooden, I would argue, like, certainly didn't pan out. And you're in a spot where, like, hey, what do you want to do with Carl Brooks? Where do you want to play him? Like, the tweener thing has always been a concern. And with Kenny really getting to the Kennyitis that he has, you're in a spot where it's just so freaking deep or thin at defensive tackle. And I'm just kind of just taken right back to where we were with the tail end of the 2020 season. We can't stop the run to save our lives, and it's just Kenny and Dean Lowry and then freaking Jaron Reed, and just like there's nothing going on there. We can't do better than Dean Lowry.
Yeah,
I don't know why defensive line has just been so neglected by Goody. It's just not something he values compared to, like, I feel like he tries harder to patch linebacker than he does like
that's
the
true.
Interior defensive line.
Yeah. No, that's.
Chris says defensive tackle
those are the
and
two
corner
spots where he feels where it seems, at least from the outside, the overconfidence is massive. So,
well, and again, the whole thing makes more sense if you like the players that we have as much as Goody and LaFleur and everybody in the building seems to. All right, like they think Kenny Clark is the second coming. They thought Dean Lowry and Jaron Reed were amazeballs. And who was the other guy that we had in 2020? Because Jaron Reed wasn't there yet. It was a different guy. It was Kenny and Dean and a guy who was gone like after the 2020 season. Really unathletic guy.
I'm looking. I don't know. Is it? You thinking of Kingsley? Kiki? I hope not.
I wasn't thinking of Kingsley Kiki. Packers 2020.
They had Damon
roster.
Harrison on that team.
Snacks Harrison, yeah, no, that was so didn't they bring him?
He was on the 2020 team.
But like for the very last game of the regular season. They signed him crazy late in the year. Kenny and Dean, man, Kingsley Kiki listed as a starter at right defensive end. That is interesting. Opposite Dean Lowry. That's crazy. Maybe I am thinking of King. That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm looking for who else other than like Montravius still being on the team, obviously.
Montravius. That's who it was. Freaking Montravius. That's what I was thinking of.
Okay.
And like he got a decent amount of playing time. He's being relied on late in the year. It was just so freaking frustrating.
Yeah.
Coach Lynn liked Cam Jackson from Florida in the 5th. Yeah, we liked
tackles. Yeah, it's just surprising.
Chris asks Savion future X. We're not going to have a conversation about that. We've done it a bunch. The cliff notes are I lean yes, and Jake is a much more leaning no.
Yeah.
Yeah, Snacks, Montravius Adams.
wild.
Monty
That's a
Adams was still in the
wild
league
unit.
last year. Yeah, I think he's going to play this year. He's not like a horrific player. It's just like he was way further up the depth chart for the Packers than he should have been in a year when they were trying to win the Super Bowl and the San Francisco 49ers were doing what they were doing in the league.
Yep.
And
Zone was a
Zadarius and Preston and
elimination
Kenny
sentence.
just getting their pants beat off of them all game long by San Francisco's offensive line. I mean, just taken out behind the woodshed and just paddled until they were red.
Yeah, it's true. Where do you have the Packers receiver room ranked in the North?
I didn't want you to ask me this question. I really didn't. All right, so look. I'm number 1 is Minnesota because of Justin Jefferson. I don't really love or respect the rest of the room at all. But Justin Jefferson alone. I mean, he's the best wide receiver in football. No disrespect to your guy, Malik Neighbors. No disrespect to future number 1 overall pick, Jeremiah Smith. But Justin Jefferson currently is the best wide receiver.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay.
Very easily.
I don't give a crap about Chicago's wide receiver room. I really don't. Like, it's fine. It's for the first time, since they assembled this group, it's for the first time since 2019, their wide receiver room is not a complete embarrassment. It's fine. It is satisfactory. As if I were a Bears fan, I would not be frustrated or annoyed by the collection of talent that they've assembled at wide receiver. Does it keep me up at night as a Packer fan or a Packer coach at all? Not in the slightest. It's fine. You're going to go up against that caliber of wide receiver room every couple weeks in the NFL. The Lions. What's that? Unless you're playing Tennessee. Yeah. So the Lions, I think, is where you and I are maybe going to get a little bit heated because I know you love J-Mo. So Amon-Ra, I have. Well, no, so, but that. This is where we're going to disagree, though. So Amon-Ra, I acknowledge is fantastic. I have all the respect in the world for him. He's the second best wide receiver in the division behind Justin Jefferson, and it's not remotely debatable, I think. I was mad that we passed on Amon-Ra to take Amari Rodgers. I'm never going to be okay with that. And the Lions wide receiver room on the whole is, I think, what the Packers want their wide receiver room to be. You got a collection of players with different skill sets who are all doing their job, and it is really freaking efficient. And you got your freakazoid in J-Mo / Christian Watson. I don't have the same level of respect for J-Mo that you do. But again, to circle back to what I was saying earlier, I tend to poo-poo skill players more than I should anyways. All right, I put Justin Jefferson and Amon-Ra on a pedestal, and I poo-poo J-Mo. All right, that's probably a flaw in me as a
I don't think
fan.
so. I think it's fine.
So, where do I put the Packers? I would, as of today, based on the last time we saw them, it would be disingenuous for me to rank them any higher than 4th because they played like crap the last time we saw them.
Well, that's fair. And they don't have Watson,
firmly believe
both secure, receiver last year when targeted. So, yeah.
I firmly believe in their potential. All right. So, listen, a year ago, I thought the Packers could win 13 games because we were coming off that 2023 season where they were kind of all going crazy, especially Wicks.
Yeah.
And Wicks was maybe the number one reason why I just kind of believed that this group had what it took. That my big concern was the defense, and I thought the offense was going to be fine.
Yeah.
2024, okay, you got the injury to Love. The offensive line plays like garbage. And all of my ire was focused on the wide receivers who just couldn't execute the basics. And the just supremely talented players who couldn't catch the freaking football. This is the biggest problem, was just the drops. Like, clean up the drops and the offense is fine. And it was affecting everybody. And so I can't in full conscience give the Packers wide receiver room the benefit of the doubt, because the last time we saw them, they refused to execute the basics. And so I need to see it from them. I know they can do it, but I need to see them actually doing it. And I think they will. We've talked about this a lot, that we think year 3 for Wicks and Reed is going to be it, that they're going to pop. You still have Doubs, and he is really rounded into just a really nice, reliable piece in the offense. We like what we think Matthew Golden can contribute, but like Reed and Wicks are probably going to be the offense in the receiving room. Like those are probably the guys who need to carry things.
Otherwise, Houston, we have a problem,
and that's why I can't, with intellectual honesty, rank them higher than 4th in the division, because of the doubts that I have about their willingness and focus to execute at the level that they can. They are a more talented room, in my opinion, than what Chicago has. And I think they can outperform what the Lions have, in particular because I think they have a much better quarterback throwing to them than Jared Goff. So I like the love to this crop of wide receivers on paper better than I like Jared Goff to St. Brown and J-Mo. And who's their third? Is it still Tim? I can't even remember who the heck their wide receiver 3 is.
It's probably Tesla now.
Well, and I didn't really want Tesla, so he's whatever. Like Tesla is J-Mo, all right, in my book. So yeah, that's my answer. What's your answer?
Yeah, probably 4th, though I don't think they're that far off. Again, I think Savion, I think the wildest dream optimists, I think, should be thinking Savion can become J-Mo to me. I think that's where you should sit, because I think that's what I think you're more looking
Not Golden.
at.
You don't think Golden J-Mo?
No. Golden runs a more full route tree than J-Mo. J-Mo's your field stretching Z, but obviously you can give him a little bit more because he's got the gear down ability that I think we all see with Savion as well. So, no, I think Golden, I've kind of thrown out my comps on Golden of a little bit of Deontay, a little bit of shades of Brandon Cooks, but I don't think he's quite J-Mo.
Didn't we talk some Robert Woods for him?
Maybe
plus speed.
I didn't, but I don't think I mentioned him.
Coach Lynn says if you had to bet which wide receiver gets traded, so
Doubs.
Like Doubs is the obvious answer, but I don't think the Packers can afford to trade any of these guys because they don't know who's going to be reliable.
If Golden pops off the first month, Doubs. It probably is that simple. But if not,
the obvious answer being Doubs is because of the fact that he's on an expiring contract,
right?
And
he's not hurt like Watson is. So,
yeah, he's kind of the only.
You're just not trading the cost control that Wicks and Reed have right now. You're just not doing that. So it's
and I think you and I would both agree that Wicks and Reed have significantly higher ceilings than Doubs as well.
Yes, of course.
Doubs probably has a higher floor than Wicks. Probably not a higher floor than Reed.
I don't think so. Perimeter wise.
Reed went in the second and Doubs went in the 4th for a reason. And I think that athletically, it's consistently shown up between those two. Like Doubs, Doubs has great hands. I think I would say that's his probably his best attribute.
Hands in tight window contested spots.
As much as any Packers wide receiver has hands, he has hands.
When he's got a lot of space around him, suddenly, like, I don't know what happens. That's why he had like 7 drops last year. I don't know what it is. He just reminds me of James Jones. He's like, you want me to make that tough one, go into the ground, Seattle game? Like, I got you, man.
Yeah.
Over the middle, nobody's around me. I don't know, Jim. Like, he just reminds me so much of Jones for that reason, right? Like, and that's fresh in the mind. That's what year 3 was kind of for him. So
I think
it's kind of where I stand.
I have a significant amount of interest in getting a new wide receivers coach, frankly. But I think that this group of wide receivers would be really fun to call plays for.
Oh, for sure.
Coach Len asked, "What could we get for Wicks? Do you think?" I'm going to say I don't think you could get anything for him, and I certainly would not be willing to deal him for what you could get for him.
I don't know. I think Pittsburgh might be a little desperate.
I just
they're sniffing around.
To
for
me,
guys
there's
like
no
Gabriel
incentive
Davis.
for the Packers to move off. Of
no,
Wicks.
there isn't. But
because
might
here's
be
the thing:
desperate,
Wicks
though.
is either going to be Devontae Adams or he's going to be useless. If he's useless, you can't get
Devontae Parker. There you go.
Yeah, he's either Devontae Adams or Devontae Parker.
Yeah.
Although Parker got traded, didn't he? Didn't he get traded from Miami to New England? I think he did.
That's hilarious.
I think if I recall correctly, it was a 6th round pick that they got.
That's probably right.
Watch, I'm going to end up being completely wrong on that. But if he's Devontae Parker, you can't get anything for him, and if he's Devontae Adams, there's no price that I would be willing to trade him for. Like if Wicks is what
If
I
he
think
is
he
Devontae
can be,
Adams, though, that price tag is going to be massive in 2027.
worth it. I don't care.
So-
If Wicks
No, I know. I'm just saying.
reaches the potential that I believe he's capable of, you could not get me to trade him for a 1st round pick. Okay, Devontae Adams at Wicks's age, would you have moved him for a 1st round pick?
No, like the 1st round pick sounds nice until you realize the hit rate of 1st round picks.
Yeah.
Like, you want Goody picking in the 1st round more? I don't know about that, Chief. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. I don't think I'd want him to be drafting more than 1st.
Like Wicks is
already
just
a
such
crapshoot anyway.
He's such a lotto ticket, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
it's already a crapshoot. We don't have to
do I think that he's a guaranteed elite player? You know, and should Bears fans be mocking me if he ends up not panning out? No, I have so many times acknowledged his floor is in the basement. His floor is he's useless, right? But his ceiling is he's Devontae Adams. He is such a smooth route runner. His release is incredible. And it's the mental errors. And if he can't get over the mental errors, the concentration drops, just the dumb decisions, the running backwards, just I'm sorry, but the idiocy. All right, you see idiocy out of him sometimes, and it's frustrating because you also see the brilliance. And so, if he's like a light bulb that is like flickering on and off, like eventually that light bulb is either going to be on more than it's off or off more than it's on. And if the light bulb starts flickering off more than it's on, then what are we doing here? You're not going to get anything for him anyways.
Yeah. Yep.
So, but I think year 3, I think he's going to break out. We make the Devontae Adams comparisons to him all the time, and you look at his sophomore campaign compared to Devontae's, like it's eerily similar. And I would argue that Wicks maybe has a little bit more going for him than Devontae did at that point in his career. There's no reason that Wicks can't break out in year 3 and be wide receiver 1, not only for the Packers, but for the NFC. No reason at all. He has the talent. Like, he gets the separation. He's always freaking open.
Yeah.
So if he can become a reliable target that, like, hey, thanks for getting open, but it was a mistake for me to throw the ball to you. That's how you could summarize his 2024 season. Wide open, but I still shouldn't throw it to you.
Yeah, that's not great. It's not great. Yeah, it would be great.
You got a new comment
can hang
here,
out of the ball
Judah
this
time.
year.
Welcome to the channel. If Wicks had Romeo's hands and catch toughness, yeah, Dobbs' catch toughness is a special trait. Plus reliability with Love. Well, and I would even just say just the reliability alone. I don't need him to have any kind of superhuman ability to catch the ball. Like, basically, just don't be MVS when it comes to catching passes.
That would be nice.
Like, just make the same leap in year 3 that Christian Watson did. Like, Christian Watson was such a reliable hands catcher in year 3. That's all we need, man.
Yeah, it's true. Okay. I think as we're stacking up, the rest of the position groups, I think there's only 2 we really haven't talked about at all. At all.
QB
and running back would be the 2 that we haven't touched on one bit.
Yeah.
So where does Love stack up?
Is that really a question?
And where do the running backs stack up?
Okay.
I think it's as simple
make
as
me a case for why Love is not number 1 in the division.
He's more high variance, I think, in the play. Would be the only argument to
I don't even
why.
think that's an accurate statement.
It definitely is. But because of the turnover-worthy plays and the interceptions. The high variance play, it's there. There's just no question. Now,
you're straight up just going head-to-head with Jared Goff here.
Well, I think that's the only one you're going head-to-head against at this point, right? No matter how high the ceiling is for Caleb, no matter how high the ceiling may be for JJ in Minnesota, like, the only thing that's keeping him back from being consensus number 1 is that high variance play, which maybe you can attribute to the injury, perhaps.
I mean, I
that's
almost entirely attribute it to the injury, and I'm with Judah time here. The case for Love not being number 1 is wide receiver play. Like, the wide receivers were so crap last year and so unreliable, and you've got Love out there behind this offensive line that is playing like garbage, cannot consistently pass protect to save their lives. Hey, we can run block, but we can't protect our injured quarterback who really shouldn't be out here. He's hobbling around on one leg. Like, I mean, like, if you watch his legs and you watch his hips, he's throwing all arm for more than half the season. Sure. He's just throwing all arm. And then, like, by the time he started to get remotely healthy at all, this is when the wide receivers forgot that they knew how to play football. And the only guys you had on the roster who could catch a football were Tucker Kraft, Christian Watson, and then when Romeo Doubs felt like being out there on the field, he was nice to have around too. So, like, that's where I'm at. I have no lack of faith in Love at all. I am as big a believer in Jordan Love today as I have ever been at any point. And so if you want to trade that for Jared Goff's veteran presence, okay. I mean, I think that Jared Goff has wild variability outside of the little tiny window where he had Matt LaFleur as his quarterback's coach, or the window where he had Ben Johnson drawn up offensive plays for him. Like, outside of that, I mean, he's been all over the place for his career. And so I just think it's a leap of faith to say, hey, Ben Johnson is gone, and yet, the lasting impact is going to remain with Jared Goff, who's always been like the definition of average. I mean, like, okay, let's just lean on PFF. All right. Like outside of the Ben Johnson era, Jared Goff's like career PFF grade is like exactly a 60.0, which is like the default. Like if they don't grade any of your snaps and they just say, yeah, you did what you were supposed to, like you come out to a 60.0.
You played football. Yeah. You played
football. His career average is 60.0. And so then, and even during the Ben Johnson era, so what, last year, Jared Goff was out of his mind and just, playing crazy football, and it was awesome. The year before, he's all over the place. And you look at Jared Goff's production home versus away, or like in a dome versus under the sky, it was whack. It was all over the place. So that's why I can't get there with the idea of like Jared Goff being, lower variance than Jordan Love. 'Cause to me, it's just such a small sample size in like an optimal environment. Like, okay, Detroit last year, they had injuries out the wazoo on defense, but like offense, it was perfect. Like you set that thermostat at 68.5 degrees, and it is just cozy as can be. And hey, Jared Goff, take this. You know what this is? It's a nice warm cup of apple cider with just a hint of lemon, a little bit of cinnamon. Like we got it exactly. Look, the offensive line.
Now I want to go get
that cider. All right, you
now
sip
I
it.
Go get that. Yeah.
Get your Zen and then throw the football. All right. So
nice setup.
Yeah, there you go. Here's my dunk on Jared Goff.
I like it.
Happy for him and all the money that he got from Detroit. Happy for him.
Yeah.
Coach Lynn says if you pressure Goff, he's clearly not the same QB. Frank Ragnow is gone. They're going to have to shuffle the offensive line a little bit.
No question.
They still have the most talented offensive line in the division, in my opinion. It's still up there in the NFL, even without Ragnow. But they're going to have to do some shuffling.
Spots that are young.
They have a first-time offensive coordinator. I don't know off the top of my head, do they have a new offensive line coach? You don't have to look it up. Just do you know off the top of your head if they have a new offensive line coach?
I'm not sure. I don't know who Ben Johnson brought with him.
Coach Len says, Love is a beast for how he played last season. The offense did not do him any favors. Judah Time says he needs to tighten up his footwork. I mean, he had no footwork last year because he had one leg. So I agree with you, and also there's an explanation for it.
I mean, he's always been like he's a hopper.
Yeah,
he hops.
It's like asking Aaron Rodgers to tighten up his
hops. He throws off the back
Patrick
foot.
Mahomes.
Listen, this is how he's going to play, and we're just going to have to. We're going to have to live with that at this.
You're
point.
not fixing it, but if you
Clements did as much that he could have done to make him, I think, a more precise, rhythmic thrower than he was coming out of college. I think Clements did a great job with that. You're not and maybe the best thing Clements didn't do was he didn't try to coach everything out of him that made him this, high ceiling prospect, right? It's like he reined some things in to say, hey, this is what we need to do to play with him rhythm in structure, right? With good footwork and mechanics, but also like don't eradicate what makes you from your game. It's like that's, I think, like, again, just as always, the highest of
which is what he did with Aaron Rodgers, to young Aaron Rodgers
to
as well.
Clements, because he's him. Put him in the ring of honor. Seriously.
Let's hope that Sean Mannion received via osmosis.
Yeah, that would be great.
Some specialness.
That would be something. Yeah, and just anything would be super.
I think it comes down to blame. Like, the offense was awful last year. Where do you place the blame? I think every Packer fan watching the team last year, watching the offense, had every right to be frustrated and upset with what they saw out of the offense.
Yeah.
And where do you place the blame? The majority of Packer fans place that blame on Jordan Love. I'm not saying that's unfair. I'm just also saying that's not what I did. I was pissed at Matt LaFleur all year
for not
for
letting
the
Kraft
decisions.
cook, by the way. Not letting Kraft
that's
cook.
part of it. Yeah. No,
Why are
that's,
we not
that's
letting
huge.
Kraft cook, man? You know?
That's huge.
Yeah.
Playing
Probably
Jordan
not the-
Love in games where
Well,
he was physically not ready to play,
Yeah.
putting it and
We didn't need him back against the AFC South, Matt.
we didn't need him back against the Minnesota Vikings. I think that was the singular game that I was the most annoyed about, was going into that first game against the Vikings.
Yeah.
What they were doing with Malik Willis was specifically something that the Vikings were struggling to defend. I think this would have been harder for the Vikings to try and defend that type of offense than, hey, you know what the Packers have going out there this week? A hobbled, gimpy quarterback who hasn't played or practiced in a month, and they have a sus offensive line and a bunch of young receivers.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Like Brian Flores, I'm guarantee at one point in that week leading up to that game was laughing.
It's like, what?
Huh?
They're bringing him back from injury now? Really?
Yeah. Right.
Interesting. Okay. Cool. Yeah. No.
I was
sure.
ticked at the wide receivers. I was ticked at Matt LaFleur. Jayden Reed at least one point in the season.
The rants were high. Yeah. The rants
needed to be benched.
Jayden Reed.
Needed to be benched for his own good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it comes down to where you place the blame. There's a lot of blame to go around.
For sure.
Where did you... Coach Len says Love has to scramble more to keep teams honest.
And he couldn't, obviously. And so, you know. It's part of it. He's always been very good. Pressure to sack ratio. Always been good at that.
I would say that the only QB conversation to me or question to me would be at QB2. Do you like the Vikings backup options better than Malik Willis? And I think that's pretty fair because I
guess
I think we're expecting JJ McCarthy to win the starting job for the Vikings, right? Like it's him or Sam Howell.
No.
And so
it's
McCarthy
or Rodgers.
Yeah.
I think if Sam Howell wins that job, they're in like, oh crap. Yeah. Guess we better go get him.
we got like 4-5 minutes until we got to hop off of here. So let's hit running back.
Yeah.
To me, this conversation kind of gets interesting with Marshawn Lloyd and like, what do we think we're going to get out of him in year 2? So, drawing a blank. Was there another running back who was here last year? Chris Brooks. Was Chris Brooks here? Yeah. And he's still on the roster. So, you got, and a lot of people are excited about Amar Johnson. You got 4-5 running backs who are interesting to talk about, who will be in any kind of contention. I think I would like to see Emmanuel Wilson lock up that RB3 or RB2 job.
Yeah.
But Jake, what are your expectations for Marshawn Lloyd this year? I mean, it's kind of interesting to consider that it's almost like we had an extra draft pick this year that we are throwing in there,
I have 2 expectations for Marshawn Lloyd. Just 2 for the season. Stay healthy. Don't fumble. That's it.
Yeah, he did fumble a lot at USC.
Concerns in college, fumbling. Concerns in the league, missed a season. That's it. Stay healthy, don't fumble. And we're in great shape for year 2.
Do you have any concerns about his injury? Setting him back. Like not from an availability standpoint, but from a athletic ability standpoint.
I don't know, maybe, but like, I don't know. What was it exactly? Not that I'm trying to make this longer and longer and longer.
So
but I don't remember.
Looks like hip and hamstring. He hurt his
I'd be more worried
ankle.
about the hip.
He hurt his ankle, but he also in the summer was having he injured his ankle 6 carries in, but he'd already been limited with hip and hamstring injuries. So that's 3 separate, and he had an appendix, which don't expect that to have any.
And Lloyd had another injury. LaFleur said Lloyd had another injury pop up this offseason.
Oh, God.
Said that today. Yeah. Man.
Here's something. Lloyd went to a Badgers medical facility.
He did go to the same place Watson went
recently to test imbalances in his body while moving, which I almost wonder.
Did, yeah.
That's kind of what makes me think of is Christian Watson finding out that one of his hamstrings was bigger than the other or something.
Yeah.
So Coach Len asked, was he hurt this much at USC or South Carolina? So no, but this is always the concern about drafting an older running back is like, hey, do you have concerns about wear and tear? And like where we had landed on was like, not right away. Like that's more of like a few years down the road type of thing. Like you should still get a fully productive rookie contract out of a guy with that number of carries.
That was the thing, like rookie contract, because he didn't have a lot of carries in college, right? He had under 300, which again, if you look at our guy who went number 6 to the Raiders. Genty had 313 last year. Oh, wait, that was just a regular. Hold on. Genty had 375 last year. And Lloyd had under 300. So, he didn't have a lot of tread on the tires, but the fact that injuries are catching up this early. Now, do I think the hip is probably the biggest concern of sapping the explosiveness and the burst and kind of the ability to shift from horizontal to vertical in kind of accelerated fashion. I think if that's still there, he's in a great spot because there were a lot of great gap runs at USC where you can see him just understanding where to be and then explode. And the fact that Green Bay is shifting to more of that, already did so with Jacobs, is I think a really positive sign as well. So again, stay healthy, don't fumble. And I think Green Bay is just widens their margin as, number 2 in terms of the running back position in this division. I still think they're 2, even if with those questions, because again, Aaron Jones kind of winding down, Jordan Mason, that's all fun and whatnot. But I think
Jordan Mason is very underrated.
Yeah, he is. And it wouldn't shock me if he takes the starting gig from Aaron Jones, who might just, have some injury lingering in camp and a soft tissue injury, here we go. And Jordan Mason just kind of takes it from him as Jones is kind of winding down in the career. So, I mean, it's obviously Detroit first, right? There's no escaping that. But after that, I think it's still pretty comfortably Green Bay too. And then Chicago's still trying to play Swift, which I find funny, and that puts them at 4 by a lot. Maybe Monungai will take it
freaking low
from somebody, Yeah, maybe Monungai will grab the starting role, or Rashan Johnson will finally break out. We'll see. But until then, they are, by all accounts, to me, a passing offense in Chicago. So, you've done
would you take Swift for free?
No, absolutely not.
And he's their
absolutely not. For free, no. He has to pay me. He has to pay to play.
Okay.
No.
Swift? No, I got one for real.
It's going to be Swift or Trent Richardson, right?
No. DeAndre Swift or Matt Orzech. You got to have one of them on your roster.
Orzech.
Because
we could just not do special teams. We just not punt. We just not kick. Like we just not do that. Like we have to run the ball at some point, and I refuse to have Swift ever be near that. No, thank you. No, thank you. Well, no questions at this time. No questions.
Yeah, Swift is about as bad as they come. My internet is starting to conk out, and it's time for me to hop off anyways. So
yeah, you guys have
any parting thoughts that you want to get out there, Jake? You want to do a record prediction, anything like that?
No, we've got plenty of time for that. We have plenty of time for that. I just excited to see the buzz and the juice coming from Green Bay with OTAs. That's always fun. Don't overreact, but just enjoy the fact that they're getting out there and get ready for what hopefully is, of course, as we always hope, a special season. So,
and tool for this is no longer in the chat, but I think it only fair that we agree to start next week's live stream with his question. Have you guys seen the trailer for Naked Gun? So I think that's what we're going to pick up.
But we'll have to pick that up.
Yeah. All right. So listen,
which will be in 2 weeks, unfortunately for me.
Yeah. So we have a replacement co-host lined up for Jake for next week. So Chris Jacquemet, who has been on here before, has agreed to come on here.
Nice.
Again, hopefully the scheduling still works out and he can come on. But that'll be fun. So tune in next week if you like hearing from me and you want to hear some smart stuff from Chris Jacquemet. And then 2 weeks from now, Jake and I are going to have to bring back movie talk.
Which, Coach Lynn, I guess we'll get to that one too. Right there as we close out. We'll have to.
Yeah, do we see Sinners? Yeah, so I will have to throw that on the list. I've not seen it, so I got 2 weeks before our next movie talk, so yeah. I can probably make that happen.
Still in theaters.
It is in my town, but that's not.
I would assume it's in. I just wasn't sure. I don't remember when it released, but
my town is still playing Minecraft. So
there you go.
Actually, I did go and see Minecraft with my daughter. And that was a good time.
It was? Oh, that's good.
Did you see Minecraft?
No, but I've seen some of the theater reactions and insanity.
So throw that out the window. Hopefully,
you would hope so for most.
Here's the comparison. I compared it to two movies. Monty Python and the Quest for the Holy Grail.
Really?
And Napoleon Dynamite. That it's like that level. Like people have asked me like, hey, what star rating would you give to Minecraft? And I'm like, I wouldn't. You can't give it a star rating because it's not that kind of movie. Like you wouldn't give Napoleon Dynamite probably a star rating. No. You would just give it a thumbs up and you'll go back and rewatch it sometimes.
Yeah. Interesting. I enjoy both of those that you have thrown out there. So that is interesting.
Like it has a story, and it definitely it doesn't like abandon the story. Like it pursues the story the whole way through. But like it's more of just like a cult classic experience.
Yeah.
And like trying to give it a star rating or any kind of review, like
those can be
waste
good.
Of your time.
Nothing wrong with cult classics. If it becomes one, that would be incredible.
My favorite like cult classic of all time is, it's really stupid, aside from Napoleon Dynamite and Monty Python, is the Green Hornet.
Oh my gosh.
Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
All right. My favorite scene in the whole movie.
Hysterical, honestly.
My favorite scene in the whole freaking movie is when
funny.
He's in the back of his limo and they're driving down, the back of the Hornet.
God, it's been a while.
And they're driving downtown to go find some crime to fight for the first time. So, if you haven't seen the movie, Seth Rogen is kind of playing like a spoof on Batman, I guess. That he's like a billionaire playboy who, decides to fight crime. So he has his driver drive him downtown to go find some crime to fight, and he looks out the window and he sees a pair of tennis shoes over the telephone line, and he goes, I think we're in the hood, Kato.
Oh man. That movie, if you haven't seen it, it's another. It's a perfect of like. Oh, what would you rate it? I don't know. That's just you got to go.
You just give it a thumbs up.
You got to do it yourself. You got to do it yourself. You got to go like yourself. That you have to form that on your own. Like my goodness, that's
also every time he like tries to ask people what they think about like his alter ego, he's like,
yeah.
What do you think about the Man in Black? And then Cameron Diaz is like, Johnny Cash?
Oh, it's really
he's like,
good.
No, the Green Hornet, man.
Oh, no, it did a really good job doing what it wanted to do, which again, that's exactly
so criminally underappreciated.
That's exactly what you want. Like, what is this movie trying to do? Did it do it? Yes. Okay, great. Excellent.
Yeah.
There we are.
Honestly, at this point in time, it's been like a good 5 years or more since I've seen Green Hornet.
Oh, for sure.
And that's criminal. I was for a long time, I would see it like at least once every 1 to 2 years. Yeah, there's a handful. Elf. I watch Elf every year. It's kind of the same way. Draft day, like just again, what is draft day? Can you give it a star rating? No, you can't, and you shouldn't review it either. And you shouldn't try and analyze it because you're just wasting your time. Either enjoy it or don't watch it.
Yeah, for sure.
But you know what we always enjoy, and I mean always. Ed Policy.
Mr. Ed.
And we enjoy chatting with you fine folks here on Derailed. Coach Len, thanks for hanging out with us. Oh, I missed this comment. I didn't even see it pop up here. Adam Huddle said he finally saw Final Reckoning. Adam, I cannot remember if you were here. Was it last week? Jake, was it last week that we did our full review of the entire Mission Impossible series? So, Adam, I can't remember if you were here for that. But glad you saw Final Reckoning. Did you like it? We're going to hop off of here. Thank you so much for watching and listening and chatting with us. We appreciate you. We love you. In the words of the late, great Mr. Ed Policy, on behalf of Packer fans everywhere, for Jake Schyvinck, this has been Derailed. Go Pack Go.